Igbo ekene m unu.
Ekele m gị.
Ekele na m ndị mere organize webinar nke a, especially my good friend Emeka Ugwoji. O nwere ndị Igbo ihe Igbo anaghị agwụwa ike. They pursue it relentlessly, and he's one of them. So, Chief Emeka, ekele m go na ndị gị na ha so wee mee nzukọ a. O tegokwa n'ụdị nzukọ a kwesịrị na-enye enwe na ya. And today, ama m ụwa niile na-ege ntị ihe a ga-ekwu n'ebe a. So we are here for a serious business. And it could not have come at a better time. Igbo si ekwu agwọ nọ n'akịrịka n'ala Igbo. So mgbakọ a bara uru ebe ọ dị ukwuu. As we all know, Chief Nyanwodo achịla anyị afọ ole ugbu a. Oge o ji hapụ oche, ọ fọrọ nwantịntị. And we need a successor, a leader who will continue to reform the reforms that his regime has started and build on it for the future. This is not a time to be without a leader, and it's not a time to be without direction. Now to Ohanaeze. Since inception of Ohanaeze, around 1976-77, mgbe ndị na military government is na-emeghela ụzọ for socio-cultural organizations, some eminent ndị Igbo gathered together and decided that ha ga-ewugharị the old Igbo State Union. Igbo State Union na ihe jikọtara ndị Igbo na mgbe gara aga. Ha wee kpọọ ya Oha-Na-Eze. Since then, the aim, if I can encapsulate what the goal was supposed to be, it was to be a body, the apex of all social, political, socio-cultural, and socio-economic bodies in our Igbo, by laying down a code of conduct, giving direction to political actors at all levels of governance in our Igbo, and representing Igbo interests in the Committee of other nationalities in Nigeria, and the interest of Ohanaeze. If you like, call it a modern socio-political system based on Igbo political culture. Those who have seen the Constitution, hello? Those who have seen the Constitution will see the aims spelled out in the Constitution. We have not quite succeeded in all the things that we wanted Ohanaeze to do. Because of politicians and their partisan politics, people who were seeking relevance in politics started hijacking Ohanaeze into politics, whereas it was intended to be above politics, not apolitical, but above politics, partisan politics. And then there were the constitutional inadequacies. Anyị emegharịala constitution anyị about 3 times. And each time, our chief Nyanwodo, na-edepụsara anyị the thing. Then Nwabeze, Professor Nwabeze, these are eminent lawyers. And there is nothing that should be in an organizational constitution that is not there. Because we looked at our culture, the anthropology of Igbo land, the political culture before the thing was drawn up. I'll come to that later if you give me time. So the inadequacies of not making the constitution and implementing it the way it ought to be created some problems. We had problems of people who wanted to elongate their tenure, and then the problems of constituting Imobi, which arose from what Nigerian government wanted to impose on us. And then there are organizational, the leadership and followership problems. Ohanaeze was supposed to reflect the same organizational structure that built Igbo State Union. Many people don't realize that Igbo Union is different from Igbo State Union. And if I'm an Igbo State Union, in those days, you see from your village, but in a town, the first thing you do is to ask where your village improvement union holds meetings, what we now call town unions. From there, you will begin to learn the maze ways of living in an urban area. For example, when I came to Lagos for the first time, I first of all found where Ohafia people used to have meetings. And from there, I realized that there is another meeting place above it, and that was the Bende Divisional Union. And you send delegates there. When you go there, you find everybody from the Bende division. Their unions will send representatives there. And from there, we met, people will be elected to go to the Owerri Provincial Union, and so on, before you can get to Igbo State Union. So that structure held together ndị Igbo dum nọ outside. Then, ewerezie ya to tinye ndị nọ n'ụlọ ya nye anyị Igbo State Union. So when Ohanaeze was organized, it was supposed to reflect the same structure so that it will have the Oha being represented and the Ezes being represented. We have not quite been able to achieve that. Our constitution right now is still there. These are some of the issues I like the people who are going to comment to talk about. And then there's the issue of youths, Ohanaeze youths. In those days, we didn't have to have Ohanaeze, Igbo State Union youths. You belong to your village union, from village union to town union, to district union, to provincial union. And when you find the youths, and then they go out and do it. We have not been able to have that kind of integration to hold everybody together because of so many issues which I may not have time to go into. And there's a paper which those who put together this organization have sent in, which I will suggest that everybody should read because it encapsulates what I'm trying to say as to what Ohanaeze was supposed to be. We have tried in various ways. And the fact that some people have kept the union going is only a miracle that we are still until now. So, I'm making from EZEOBA to Iruku to Uwechwe to Igariwe. Before we got to Chief NNAEMEKA, all the people who have held up this thing to hold it together, not to talk about people like Professor Nwabweze, who at every juncture will try to pull us back to the legal basis of the organization. So, even the Kubua, Akurumbo na Agwana na Africa, and the question Lebanya, even na Ala Nigeria, Eba Imbi, so that we will be able to follow, have an organization that can give us the kind of representation that we need. We need to put our house in order. And the Constitution has spelled out how Ohanaeze should be organized. And if we can only achieve that, it will deal with all our problems organizationally, including the funding. When I said Nagwan and Africa, what if Nigeria implodes today? Because events in Nigeria today are moving so fast that one will not be surprised to wake up one day and find that the Nigeria you used to know no longer exists. Two, we know that even in Nigeria, there's law which applies to other parts of Nigeria and laws which apply to Igbo. Only if any of them, when if I am, but I am Igbo. Therefore, ndị na-achị obodo apụta nnọọ ma ebe ma mbọ ihe niile ọ pụtasịa ọ ndị nọ n'ala anyị jiri ọfịa anyị mere ubi ha. Two or three ethnic nationalities are fairly well organized to take off as nation states in the event of a calamity falling on Nigeria. The way I see it, we are not. It happened before in July 1966. Then the battle cry of the North was Araba. It may very well happen again. Our worry is that the situation in Igbo today is far more complex than what the Igbo society used to be, say, before 1966. Kinship ties and village improvement unions were still strong and preaching Onyahalangwaneya. And that is why Eastern Nigeria was able to accommodate the largest internally displaced persons ever seen in Africa in living memory. Can we repeat that this time, if it happens again? It is not an exaggeration to say that compared to 1960, there is no longer the communality of interest among Igbo, as was the case under the Igbo State Union, with the numerous village improvement associations affiliated to it. Leadership in Igbo land today appears to be splintered and rudderless. Because of the introduction of these chieftaincy laws in the East, we now have gone from being characterized as acephalous societies to now having 1,001 ancient kingdoms, with no cultural norms binding us together. In spite of that, the hold of tradition is not as strong as it used to be. You go to almost every part of Igbo, you have this strange phenomenon of having in one community, the same community, somebody who is a traditional ruler and another chief who is a recognized chief. And that creates dual loyalties. So Ohanaeze Ekpoku, Anajonye Geje, is it the traditional ruler or the recognized chief? This is a very thus, in the very unlikely event that Nigeria implodes today, what will be the proximate response of Igbo? And who or what will hold Igbo together? ndị onye ya ga-akpọ oku mmadụ niile apụtabịa azụ oku. That was why we have an organization like Ohanaeze, and why Ohanaeze has to be reconstructed, has to be rebuilt, has to be restructured to reflect the original goals. Imagine the scenario of what might happen if Nigeria implodes. Arewa Consultative Assembly, through their sultan, will regulate all the Sharia states and tell them, Jihad, Afeni Fere will call on the Oni of Ife to declare Odua Republic, and will be a motekun in the vanguard. The 6 governors will all fall into line. But Ohanaeze NDIGBO Boku will call a meeting of Imobi to discuss the way forward. Then Igbo leaders of thought will call a separate meeting. Igbo Development Foundation will call another meeting. Igbo Kunia will call another meeting. World Igbo Congress will stay abroad there, internet, and mount internet warfare against everybody at home, claiming that only Jenako, only Siawa, Amamihe. That's not going to save us. In the meantime, the governors of the 5 states will be digging in with their political structures. After all, they were elected sons of the soil to rule this or that state. And in the circumstance, Masab will declare the sovereign state has been actualized. This will be countered by indigenous people of Biafra, who will try to woo the Biafra National Zionist movement to join them. In the meantime, the ordinary Igbo person will be left in the lodge, not knowing which leader to follow. Then warlords with a lot of palm fronds will arise, and there will be struggle for power. All the ills of the Nigerian political class will resurface in the new Biafra or Igbo Republic. In the process, we will even lose sight of why we wanted to leave Nigeria or to have Nigeria restructured. At 90, move for the man Dr. Akbara Mokalosa Francis Sabian, Ndinamokun, Kushrim na school. Had drummed no trolley body. Can you find me a bar? And as he once beaten, twice shy. Okparang wanta Kembori Oko, Nkabo Taya Nehe. Dr. Emma Akbara once quit. To err is human, to repeat it is stupid. Fool me once, na foolish. Fool me second time, na proper foolish. Unquote. We have to examine ourselves as a people and ask ourselves questions, and if possible, create a narrative acceptable to us as a people. They say if you want to be a millionaire, begin to behave like one. If we are aspiring to be a sovereign nation, or even an economic unit within a possible Nigerian confederation, we can do it. And that is why Ohanaeze must exist, to bring everybody under the same umbrella, not as a government, but as the sovereign will, our life and our liberty in an organization.
Thank you very much,
So
sir.
what can I say now? I'll quote a poem somebody wrote. To you, the younger ones, from dying hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep. Igbo, ekene munu.
Thank you. Thank you, Elder Dr. Ohanaeze. The words of our elders, the words of wisdom. What is the Igbo response? Mewere ohere ekelekwa first, Onyeisi anyị Chief NNAEMEKA, who is listening patiently. He will have his own time. But for now, I do see on screen Onyeisi, His Royal Majesty, Eze Achebe Abogidi, ekelela mgbe. Ahụkwala m the leader, the minority leader, Senator ABARIBE. Senator ABARIBE ekelela mgbe. I have also seen the face of other senators and other leaders, Joe Nwogo, Dr. Nwogo, who was the Secretary General, ekelela mgbe. Zikobi and the rest. Without much ado, I would want to invite Senator Chris Anyanwu with our panel to dig into the agenda well established by our elder, Dr. ELEAZU Akpokuna Olebiboji. He's giving us a historical background by BDJ. Without much ado, you can talk about Igbo yesterday. Let's talk more about today and tomorrow. If Senator Chris Anyanwu and her panel, if they are ready, please, she should present her panel, starting with the presenter of the paper, Sir Chris Okoye, who will deliver a paper, after which the other panelists will contribute. But Senator Anyanwu, we are a little bit conscious of time. You have 60 minutes to do that, after which we'll now go to the next session. If Senator Anyanwu is ready with her panel, I would want her to take over. Senator Chris Anyanwu, please.
Very much, Chris. You know me, I will not take your time. I hope you can hear me very well.
Very well.
Good, good. Mr. Chairman of the occasion, Elder ELEAZU, it is wonderful to see you. 90 years. I'd like to be like you when I'm 90 years. Chief NNAEMEKA, Statesman, Apex Statesman for Igbos. And I want to appreciate the convener of the occasion, Emeka Ugoji. Emeka is a patriotic Igbo man. It's been a long time since he's been trying to get Igbos to get their act together. I'm glad that you did this. This event today, very timely discussion. It's way past time for us to get our act together. Emeka says his goal is to get people to understand more about Ohanaeze. I think he has already achieved that, because for me, I didn't know too much about the genesis of Ohanaeze. And I'm better informed already as to where we were, what we had before Ohanaeze, what we had today, and how we can go about restructuring or rebooting Ohanaeze and making it a better organization, ground up, that people can associate with and that can remove all the difficulties that Ohanaeze has been very fraught with. Now, on the panel, Engineer Chris Okoye will be speaking. As Elder Statesman mentioned, his paper is food for every Igbo person, and I can't wait for him to deliver it so that others hear it. The other panelists are Professor Greg Ibe and Barrister Zik Obi. Hello, Zik, long time. And Ekanem Isiche, Mr. Ude, Ferdinand Ago, Mr. Joe Nwogo, Andy Wabali, Ezine Anyanwu, and Obaniju Uoji. It's a very rich panel. And what we're going to be discussing is the paper to be presented by Chris Okoye. And I don't want to take his time. He has 20 minutes, to dig into that. Chris, are you here? Hello, Chris. Mr. Chairman.
Hello?
It's Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. How are you? How are you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me first of all just extend my protocols to the President General of Ohanaeze, under whose auspices, of course, we are gathered here today. Of course, our chairman, my colleagues on the panel, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Igbo ekene muno. Biko onye ndebelundi anya no na for. Let me first of all appreciate the organizers of this webinar for putting together a session on Ohanaeze yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It is very significant that they decided on this particular theme or topic because it would appear to me that almost every Igbo man and woman has come to understand that Ohanaeze is the platform on the basis of which we can begin to develop unity, which has been eluding us for quite some time. And perhaps to buttress that understanding of Ohanaeze among most Igbos, apart from the misgivings that have also been raised in many, many quarters, I would like to say that a couple of years ago, I had attended the Nigerian Society of Engineers conference in Bauchi, in Kano, and in Ondo states. At each of these conferences, we always had the privilege of talking to our younger engineers from the Southeast, from the Igbo area and so on. And I recall that when we also passed through Bauchi, the same thing repeated itself in Kano and also in Ondo states. Some of the questions came from the participants in those our outings, and the question was, what is actually Ohanaeze saying in terms of the future of NDIGBO, Nigeria? So that obviously tells you that the only body, if I remember, Bo Ohanaeze, they never asked us questions about even the Southeast Governors Forum Nebu. They did not say even the Traditional Council Nebu. All that they remembered was Ohanaeze, Kedifa Ohanaeze Nebu, which seemed to show that Nongwelo, a particular attachment in the Banyebeni Nongwelo towards Ohanaeze, perhaps as a platform that will bring us together for sustainability within the context of one Nigeria. Perhaps this is why it's important to appreciate why they have put up this theme, believing that as we're going in a Bible, seek first the kingdom of God, and that every other thing will be added unto you. Hence, Mabu Naige dozimu Ohanaeze. Ebabu Nainine Kotania. Oga Dikwam, the issue of unity, which has been eluding us, will obviously begin to give us a different sustainable path of to our development. So I thank the organizers for having chosen that theme because we believe that it will contribute immensely to righting some of the wrongs that have afflicted Igbo land for quite some time. I also want to thank the organizers for asking me to deliver this keynote address. I do not know why I was asked to deliver the keynote address, but it could appear to me that, there's some reasons that compelled Emeka, the leader of these organizers, to approach me to deliver the keynote address. To me, I actually turned down the request to deliver the address. And it came about 2 or 3 times. And when I saw that it persisted, of course, I thought it therefore necessary to do something. But I was concerned that about just 2 weeks ago, and that things are going to be done in Nigeria, in Igbo land, and perhaps Nigeria. So sorry. Now this is something that we should have prepared for a long time ago, and given enough time for us to be able to do all that is required in this type of paper. But be that as it may, I decided that I try as much as possible to put my paper and more or less, instead of delivering it as an oral thing, to capture it in a document that can be circulated to all the participants and perhaps Igbos that are also beyond here, knowing fully well that there wouldn't be enough time to be able to talk about the content of this paper here. So, when I say Ivebo ma razela kan lali ife ma akpọ ife bụ isiokwu na the paper mụ agide ihe. O nwere nwoke be anyị a na-akpọ nwoke Kenwigiri. Oge ọbụla ejebesi meeting aba anyị, ejebe town union meeting aba anyị. Nwoke Kenwigiri ama nje meeting, o je nọrọ na a particular spot. On a particular spot, ejesiza meeting gbasa, meeting na pụtazi, nwoke Kenwigiri ọfụrụ the first person pụta na the meeting. Ọ jụọ ya ka ekene nke bụ isiokwu na meeting eme tata. Agwazi anyị ife bụ isiokwu na meeting eme, nwoke Kenwigiri akọlụzia wee gaba, kọzia more than ife mekwu na meeting. Ndị Enugu kwu wee decide na baga akpọzi anya. And I'm hoping, therefore, that Nama Choka to Charlie Visioko, a paper lay before us, in the hope that the organizers would make available this paper to everybody, because I'm sure that it will require that we should all study this paper as a way of guiding us as to the future requirements actually will make reposition and re-engineer Ohanaeze for sustainability. The outline of my paper obviously will look at the Igbo State Union. That is the Igbo Union, of course, I'm going to begin with. Makana, quite often, we have failed also to differentiate between the Igbo State Union and the Igbo Union. I will try and look at the growth and the development of the Igbo Union, and hopefully try and deal with the contributions of Igbo Union to the wellness of Igbo land. And even about the Igbo State Union. which obviously came as a result of other circumstances that informed that era. The Igbo State Union will also try and look at what are the key components that informed the growth of the Igbo State Union. And after the Igbo State Union, how we eventually came to become the Oha-Na-Eze that we have today. Noting, of course, that Ohanaeze actually started from Apex Social Organization of NDIGBO. It was that Apex Social Cultural Organization of NDIGBO, the Ohanaeze, that we are all concerned that we would begin to rebuild so that it can hopefully respond to the needs of taking Igbo land to the next level. I would then hopefully conclude with ENYI, the Constitution of Ohanaeze, and hope how well have we implemented that Constitution, and probably try and give some synopsis of what we need to do to reposition and re-engineer Ohanaeze for sustainability. I would end finally with my thoughts as to the way forward, in the hope that as we begin to usher in the new Ohanaeze, that they will hopefully be saddled with some of the fine points that we have recommended as to how Ohanaeze can now be taken to the next level. And I think we'll end finally with that. And let me probably say primarily that every group na them organizational formats now they are associated with that group. And it has always been NDIGBO, and perhaps a country called Somalia that have always had that traditional democratic system in their domain. And of course, it's something that we have all been used to, in which the village square has acted as a basis for allowing particularly the outdoors, to come together, to reason together, and to work out and that traditionally has always been the case. Some people may actually wonder, are we saying no? That, I think, is not the issue that we are trying to bring out here. But traditionally, even up to today, if you go to your town union, you will find that not mostly male adults now participate in the meetings of the town union. But that does not mean that the women have not also played very significant roles in the development of union. For instance, if you remember the ABARIBE riot, revolt against the British rule. And therefore, the women will also participate, do their meetings, but quite often they will bring their decisions to the men's platform, and therefore the women have also been very potent instruments in the development of these town unions. The Igbo Union, of course, I think that our chairman, spoke to it, of course, when he talked. Even the British government would align. Na a town. Moa, Amulum Nenuguku. Ama maybe my village in Enugu. Achabam, Ajan Enugubaga, maybe Achatam. We have always had our town unions. And on Ademka, Otundi Bosse Mife, Ogabuna Fajel, whereby into a town, quite often they join, the first thing they join is the town union Nabefa. And as pointed out, it also exploded to not only having the particular town union, you now not even the village union, the town union, and also moving further to having divisional unions, provincial unions. And I think, again, I recall that the chairman spoke to this, so I'm not going to bother to waste too much time on it. But this has been a very potent instrument. A seminal paper, which I had done some time ago, which talks about town unionism as a potent tool for the development of Igbo land. And I think I would also like to make available that paper ultimately, so that people can see why the town union has always been a very significant instrument, AG Alolo Igbo land. And the town union, I must say, made a lot of contributions. Makanova Bogawa and Ekumaka secondary school, water supply schemes, electricity supply schemes, for all. And I recall very vividly. Okay, the Enugu kuna tuego maka itinyoku Enugu. What was very striking at that time, Buna Umuwaya na Abambo, an old woman in the town. I recall one old woman who obviously I took interest in talking to all the time. Each time I spoke to this woman, that was before the war. 2 pence. So it was essentially something that was seen as a commitment by everybody. This something happened when we were building the post office in Enugu. The same format was used. Again, importantly, Dr. EMMANUEL because Dr. EMMANUEL understood, in fact, NGOs in this world. We should actually call Dr. EMMANUEL as the first person that started NGOs. Because quite often NGOs or NGOs today. Because at that time, for instance, Opera's government was prepared to give you matching grants. Now, 80% of it, that they will give you 20%. And so they provided that outlet, that platform. And it worked wonderfully, because quite a lot of projects were delivered by town unions as a result of that intervention by the Opera government. Scholarships were given. Atusiego, Kawezigama Akwụkwọ n'obodo oyibo mbọsị onye a ga-anata a na-akụ egwu eje echele ya na the border going to the town akụla egwu wee soli wee nata. I mean, it showed you, of course, the importance in the being attached to education and the communal nature of people wanting to do things for the greater good of everybody. So I think that basically this was the state in which we found ourselves with the Igbo Union. Now, from there, of course, we went on to embrace the Igbo State Union. And I must say, there must be a distinction between the Igbo Union, which was merely a cultural organization, association, and this later offshoot, which of course is the Igbo State Union, which was led by the most part, ZCOB of blessed memory, leader of the Igbo State Union. This union, of course, emerged in the late 40s, and it was, of course, in response to the British government colonialism. The flashpoint at then was Lagos, where Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe wrangled with Dr. Chief Obafemi Awolowo's cultural, political, of course, Omo Oduduwa. And I think it was that Omo Oduduwa that led NDIGBO to immediately come to terms with the need to mobilize our people that through the Igbo State Union so as to become a counterbalance to what the Yorubas were trying to do at that time. So at times one might say that there was some political connotation to the Igbo State Union. So I think we need to draw that line between the differences between the Igbo State Union and, of course, the Igbo Union, which was essentially a cultural association geared towards making sure that na anyị reflect otu anyị si wee bido. Whilst the Igbo State Union had some political connotation because we wanted to protect Zik from what the Yoruba, because Zik had also gone on to do politics in the southwest part of Nigeria. What were again the contributions of the Igbo State Union? Of course, the Igbo State Union also tried to emulate the kinds of things that the Igbo unions were doing. That's why you had, of course, the schools in Kafanchan, the Igbo State Union School in Kafanchan, in Kanu, and so on and so forth down the line. But the most important instrument that we always associate with the Igbo State Union, but that now it marked the very first time Igbo as a people were to have a unifying institution that exercised leadership across board. You can see, NDIGBO Watalo, now a need for a platform that will bring us together. Because that problem, I have today, Igbo unity, they thought that that was one particular instrument. That it will give us that opportunity to be able to reach out and do many, many things, because that's in you come a million or baka of. When you get looked at now, Igbo State Union is part of even in Naval legacy. Obviously, was banned as a result of the Nigerian Biafra War. And after the war ended, of course, it became necessary to stop meetings. At that point in time, of course, they were seen as apex social cultural organization of NDIGBO. But after a couple of meetings, in one of their meetings, they decided that I get for Dr. Namgazikiwe. Now, Soka, how we call about this institution and ACHEBE. Mana, if a college will be the Fabuna, no guy put us in Naga. Na the military government will impose on us a chieftaincy system which was obviously unknown in Igbo land. And it was of which Atombera was the military governor at that time. I think it was the beginning of that edict that obviously led to the need to essentially come together to be able to find a way of speaking to the problems that were being created with something that was a lane to NDIGBO. And I think that Naval, okay, pharmacy, where's their meeting? All Barakezigal, Gojefu Dr. Namdi Azikiwe, where Kowalia Kobolo, the grand patron of this Igbo state, of this Ohanaeze at that time, but of course still called apex social cultural organization of NDIGBO. I think that Opera Jel Soka Omoriki Fumuze, they later came back to another meeting and appealed to Dr. Akan Ibiam to go back to Nnamdi Azikiwe. I think he saw him, eventually got him to become the grand patron of that apex social cultural organization of NDIGBO. So all our leaders at that time were part of that institution. Eventually, that institution continued, and then was there a need to begin some sense of institutionalization of ENYI, and that was at the point in which Professor Ben Mwabezo came in, and of course, in one of their meetings, they now decided to make Professor Ben Nwabeze the secretary, and Dr. Sylvester Go, Secretary General, of course, Ben Nwabeze, and Sylvester Go was then made an assistant secretary at that time. And then the body took off. This was about 1982 and 1983. But eventually, of course, after Fabidosi, some interregnum came in because an attempt was made by MPN to appropriate this institution for political reasons. And of course, you may remember that for a short time, that institution went into coma. You will recall that it was that effort they made that brought Dr. Lex Okweme as the Vice President of Nigeria. At that time, as I said, they didn't really have any institutionalized way of doing things, apart from Nwabeze Fawota, Tinyekwo Sylvester Go. But each meeting, Famweloga, or Igbo Abuna Biano, most often, EMMANUEL Chukwu at times chaired their meetings, but any Igbo Bianoge would chair the meeting of that day. But eventually, the meetings continued, and Professor Ben Nwabeze then began to give some depth and need, of course, to essentially consummate an institution that will be led appropriately. And I think it was at that point that they had a meeting later on, which culminated in the election of EZEOBA as the President General of Ohanaeze, with, of course, Professor Ben Nwabeze continuing as the Secretary, and that was when Dr. John Wogo was then made also an Assistant Secretary to Professor Nwabeze. Now, I must say that Professor Nwabeze, of course, and his group did an awful lot to create the enabling environment in which we found that we now have a constitution of Ohanaeze. And I think a committee during that period was also set up, of which our President General, of course, Barrister Dr. and Barrister NYANWU, and a number of other people participated in the generation of the working documents that gave us that constitution. I would like to, in fact, probably go just quickly to the contributions of Ohanaeze. The contributions of Ohanaeze were quite many. One of the biggest contributions Ohanaeze made was the Oputa panel, the Ohanaeze petition to the Oputa panel on human rights violations, which sat in Enugu from April 25th to May 25th of 2001. This was a very significant contribution, and it actually captured substantially with what's really happened during the war. The other thing, of course, was that we were able to mount a major effort to bring the Southern people together as a basis for cascading the need for restructuring of Nigeria. And I think they started it. And I must say that the present President General of Ohanaeze essentially made an effort to concretize that effort. And that's what gave us what we might call the Okweme Declaration, which I'm sure that we will also be looking at, even though some people have tried to disagree with a few things that are in that Okweme Square Declaration. But I think that was the first time we also tried. But remember that there was also the Igbo. I didn't want to go into that because it was not necessarily Ohanaeze that gave us that particular effort. That was when Okweme led the delegation, 94, 97 Constitutional Conference, which is actually how the issue of the 6 zonal systems that we are now enjoying came about. There were other achievements, of course, of Ohanaeze. I think that if you recall, there has also been a number of constitutional conferences the Obasanjo Constitutional Conference in 2005, the
Hello?
Yes,
Hello, Chris?
You can go ahead now. You are muted.
Can you hear me now? Thank you very much, Engineer Chris Okoye, for your wonderful paper. And I want to urge us all to really sit down and go through that paper because it's very rich. And there's no way Chris can do justice to it within this short span of time, truly. Thank you very much. I want to also thank you, Chris, for mentioning something that I observed, in going through your paper, and that is that the Igbo unions, the way that they were structured, completely blacked out women. Women were not part of that whole process, and that in reshaping and rebooting the Oha-Na-Eze, that deficiency, that great deficiency must be remedied. Having said that, now I think that the panelists are ready to get into this. Each panelist gets 3 minutes. We will start with Barrister Zik Obi, whom I have already seen. Zik, if you're ready, can we have your opinion? 3 minutes. Say something. What your observations? Give us your observations on the paper. And also enrich what he has said, because there's a lot, I'm sure you had a paper, there's a lot that he didn't even get into. What are those strengths of the Igbo Union and Igbo State Union that we can borrow to now further enhance, what we have in Oha-Na-Eze, so that we can have a more perfect organization?
Yeah, thank you very much. May I stand on existing protocols and thank the organizers of this great event. I have read the paper presented by Engineer Chris Okoye on the Igbo State Union. I happen to be personally knowledgeable about it as a young man because my father was the president of the association initially from 1948 and then from 1951 to 1966. I used to attend the meetings with him at the Igbo National High School in Aba. Now, a lot has been said. Dr. ELEAZU mentioned most of the way Igbo State Union operated. Chris also mentioned that in his paper. At the time, one major factor there was that the Igbo State Union was in control of affairs of NDIGBO. The politicians and the so-called money men had very little role to play, except to take instructions from the leadership of Igbo State Union then. Everybody came on board so as to fight the common enemy. Because all the people are about the way NDIGBO are being maltreated. It was there at the time. I remember in one of the papers that I read, the Igbo State Union went to the Prime Minister then to complain about the maltreatment of NDIGBO and trying to make NDIGBO second-class citizens and to know what could be done. So if you had the now the war came, now Ohanaeze came in with very good intentions. Like Chris said, NDIGBO in 1977. Now the politicians came to hijack it and then use it for their own political purposes. Kembo Gafo, Ohanaeze has never been the same. We've had Ndinachi, but not until Ralph Uwechue came. Called Obiaka came with some semblance of order in that place. Of course, we know that Kembe Nyanwodo Bialo Ohanaeze has never been the same. It has moved to higher levels. Ketaka under Nyanwodo, and we Malaysian Ohanaeze and what Ohanaeze can do for Igbo. So I think it's very, very important that we think of how to strengthen Ohanaeze. But also why but that now NDIGBO, more politicians believe that they must control Ohanaeze. That Ohanaeze quo, NDIGBO more politicians more the governors that not ebido. No, that was not the way Igbo State Union operated. So I think it's one basic area that we must get to. How do we place Ohanaeze above all these politicians and the money men and make them to understand that they have to subsume themselves to this Igbo body. Now, in our constitution, maybe I just dwell on that area. In our constitution, our constitution has been a problem. For the constitution, one thing, but the implementation or the way it is operated becomes something else. Because here, the power or authority. We don't let the constitution to work. There are so many areas. Now, if we are going to do a constitution, we must consider too, how do we stop these interferences of some politicians and the so-called money men? How do we stop members, for example, taking Ohanaeze to court? I don't know how many people remember. A lot has been said about Prof. Eze here. He did wonderfully well for us. But when he was Secretary General, I'm sorry, with respectfully, Eze sued Ohanaeze na Lagos High Court and exposed all our minutes in the court in the Yoruba. It took Akiken, to intervene to get him to withdraw that suit because it was an embarrassment to anyone in Lagos. Things like that, how do you take care of things like this in the Constitution? In Okwania, another area that we have to look at, the role of the Igbo groups outside Igbo land, for example, Lagos. The current leadership of Ohanaeze had a problem in the Ohanaeze Lagos they present. A situation where, because now they see it as a money-making venture to be able to extract money from politicians in Lagos. That's all that they do. And then they want to kill themselves. Local government, everybody in the local government, Cholebo, Ohanaeze chairman, and then to be able to issue statements and make money. So these are areas that we must look at. How do we deal with them? I'm not going to the constitution, but what do we do? Enforcement, punishment for people who go outside it. But it's important that we try to build Ohanaeze. One thing that Chris mentioned about the funding, because funding is key. The problem of Ohanaeze in the last few years, but then where they go, and they tend to rely on the governors to provide the money. Of course, if you rely on the governors to provide the money, the governors will want to dictate what you do. Igbo Union and Igbo State Union, where money came from the grassroots. If it is properly structured, it's there on paper. But how many town unions now contribute money towards Ohanaeze or the growth of Ohanaeze? These are things we must look at. If Ohanaeze is not well funded, unfortunately, I don't think we will get anywhere. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Zeke. That's very good. So now you talked about funding, and everybody has been hammering on the issue of funding. I wonder if Mr. Kanem Isiche, will come in here. And it would seem to me that some of the solution lies with the adoption of some of the approaches that the earlier institutions like Igbo Union, adopted. How they derive their funds, because their strength was that they were ground and they derive their funds from contributions, right from the ground all the way up and order. Can we look at what they did and how they did it at that time and maybe borrow a leaf, to strengthen Ohanaeze? Mr. Siche, if you are there, could you please get into the discussion?
Thank you, distinguished. First of all, let me just recognize all the organizers of the forum, chairman of the occasion, His Royal Highness Theodore Onitsha, President General of Ohanaeze in Igbo, distinguished senators, captains of industry, traditional rulers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me also thank our fathers for building this organization and bringing it to the standard it is today. I think the meeting is apt because it gives us a chance to reflect and reinvent ourselves in the time where, I know with this COVID thing going up and down, but it's a time that we should look inwards and so we'll not be left behind in the future. So, I am from Delta State in Anyoma. I belong to a state that has 1.9 million Anyoma people that sit on 6,300 kilometers of land. We are blessed with great human capital, tourism potentials, and oil deposits. I want to make just 4 additions to what Professor Zikobi mentioned, because I think he built on the foundation and for us to really look at that. I think we have to look at one, what is our collective vision? Where do we see ourselves a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because can two work together unless they agree? So we must have a unified vision that is simplified across board, basically, in every Igbo union, in every Igbo, whether they're in diaspora or whether they're locally here. What is that vision must be clear across the board. So everyone is speaking the same language, which is very important. Another medium I see, I think, is the Dawn Commission, what the Yorubas use. Every week you get a newsletter that carefully articulates what every Southeast governor is doing and what they are doing in those particular states. And they also celebrate their own, something that we can take a cue from, so that way we kind of have a repository of our collective vision, our history, our accomplishments. A weekly newsletter would always help out. 2, incorporating history into our educational institutions. So we must make sure that collectively across the Southeast, all our educational institutions must teach the Igbo language and must teach the Igbo history, which is important. So that way our present generation would know their identity and understand their significance in society wherever they reside globally. 3, we must use technology to attract the young talent pool that we have. How do we even incorporate them into the voting process? I wanted in the constitution that should have also been there. How do you incorporate those in diaspora, the young ones, into the voting process so that they become part of this? The 4th one is, how do we harness the great human capital that we have? We have doctors, nurses, inventors. We must have an intentional plan in black and white that says, how do we attract these young people who are accomplishing things globally? We celebrate them, but we don't know how to attract them back into the region, to build the region and develop the region, and drive the future and growth of Ohanaeze and Igbo nation at large. And lastly, funding, which is what distinguished Senator Kusanyawa asked. So I think from a funding perspective, it is important that, like I said, we don't necessarily look to the politicians to fund it, because I believe that when you look at the diaspora fund that comes into Nigeria, or you look at the money that is used to import things into Nigeria, that's a lot of capital. Just imagine even 10% of that is harnessed into Ohanaeze, and that is being used for the marketing, the development, and the growth of the organization. So I think we need to channel our funds in the right place and have a case for why you will say a business case for what these funds will be used for and how they can help build our collective vision. Over. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Now. So can we have Ude, Mr. Ude, or Ferdinand? I'll go get on if Mr. Ude is not there. And Chris, I didn't hear you. Were you saying something that Mr. Soluka? Hello. Can I go on?
Yeah, this is Nana Ude. Can I go on? Can I go on, Madam Moderator?
Yes, just
okay.
Just go
all
on.
right. Thank you so much, Madam Moderator, and all the previous speakers. I would like to first of all stand on existing protocols, but specially and respectfully recognize the PG of Ohanaeze NDIGBO, Revered President General Chief ACHEBE, and His Royal Majesty Ebogidi ADMIRAL ACHEBE, Obi of Onitsha. As we explore this today's topic and listening to the keynote presentation from Engineer Chris Okoye, which by the way was very eloquently put forward, I just want to come at it by highlighting three imperatives I believe that we should address or seek to reimagine for as Ohanaeze. The first is Ohanaeze as an organization created by the Constitution with a structure that represents the interest of NDIGBO. You know, sometimes most of us, when we hear Ohanaeze, we only think about the President General, but unknown to many others. So Ohanaeze actually has a structure and is designed to have a structure. To what extent that structure has been efficient in supporting the work of the leadership, that the Secretariat, and being able to drive funding is a very key imperative for us to consider in this quest to reinvent or strengthen Ohanaeze. The second imperative, Ohanaeze as a mass movement that serves as a collective for the Igbo universe and reflects the Igbo nation at home and in the diaspora. Then, as a mass movement, it then serves as an umbrella for all the other Igbo groups and town unions that represent Igbo interests. And it's able to use and mobilize technology in order to reach out to the younger generation who seem to be disconnected from Ohanaeze or what Ohanaeze stands for. So it's important we think about Ohanaeze as a mass movement and to what extent we are able to use it to achieve the interests of NDIGBO. Now, the third imperative for me is Ohanaeze as an ideology that embodies the values. When we hosted PG at Nkatu, he spoke on Ife Jemalu Igbo, and that actually speaks to Ohanaeze as an ideology that continues to project and reflect the values of NDIGBO, and in doing so, is able to shape the character of political leadership in Igbo. Because it is when you have such an institution that defines and radiates the values of NDIGBO that you are in a better position as a people to hold your leaders, whether political leaders or business leaders, accountable. And so for me, as we continue to explore the strengthening of Ohanaeze, I believe that we should reimagine these imperatives and see how we can draw them together to strengthen Ohanaeze going forward and make it an institution that was able to serve our needs for yesterday, is serving the purpose for today, and is able to drive us into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next, we have the last few speakers raised a few issues, to touch on. And one is whether Ohanaeze, as presently structured and as it functions now, whether it serves the best purpose. And he talked about a mass movement. At this time, in this present time, what do we need? Do we need a mass movement? Do we need a blend of a cultural movement plus political movement, as in the Igbo Union and Igbo State Union, that sort of thing? And how do we get around the criticisms that Ohanaeze is more like an elite club, serving elite purposes? It has a structure, but it has a very convoluted web of of membership that it's not very difficult. It's not very easy to decipher. People they feel a little bit alienated from Ohanaeze. They don't think that it is all inclusive. They think it is discriminatory and all that. How do we get around those criticisms? Because I think that is the source of the challenge that Ohanaeze faces. Sometimes when Ohanaeze speaks, people challenge them and the rest of it. If Ferdinand is here, please touch on some of those issues, because that is one of those are some of the things that we have to really get around if we're going to talk about mandate of the people and derives its authority from the people. Is Ferdinand Ago here? If Ferdinand Ago is not here, can we have Joe?
Chris.
Okay, how have you been? Okay, Ferdinand, please just come on.
Please, may I say all protocol? I stand on the existing protocols, and particularly wish to acknowledge the PG and His Royal Majesty the Obi of Onitsha. The last point you make is quite interesting, because I think it poses a challenge for us. In the presentation by Engineer Okoye, he showed how in the past we transmitted from Igbo Union to Igbo State Union to Ohanaeze in reaction to political circumstances. And when Zik Obi spoke, he talked about the effectiveness of the Igbo Union in the past and kind of wished that we were as effective as that. But the truth is that what Nana basically is pointing out is that we have become a global tribe. Some people say that we are probably Africa's first global nation. We are scattered across Nigeria and in the diaspora. And we now must respond to challenges beyond just the internal competition between the Nigerian elites. Our youngsters are facing different types of competition abroad. Xenophobia. They are being mauled by crowds and robbed by governments. So if we are to be relevant to them, we have to look at a role beyond that we played in the past. We can't just look at what we did in the past. We must appeal to their needs if we are to be relevant to their needs. Otherwise, they'll move on to other formations. I think the starting point is this. We have been very effective in the past as a symbol of the identity, the culture, the history of the Igbo nation. Despite the challenges, Ohanaeze still has one thing that no other person has. It has convening power. No other group has the convening power that Ohanaeze has. And that convening power is because it is the accepted voice of the Igbo nation in the Nigerian dialogue. And we are coming to a point in Nigeria that that voice must become stronger and more coherent.
So despite our many challenges, I feel that our first priority is to strengthen that voice as the voice of the Igbo nation in the Nigerian dialogue. And I think that Chief Unyiannwu must get immense credit, not only for lifting the profile of Ohanaeze, but for affirming the very cardinal place of the Igbo nation in that dialogue, and being able to weave it together with other sociocultural groups, Afenifere, Pandev, and Middle Belt Forum, so that we speak clearly, but we speak with others, and we are key on the message. So, whatever happens today, I want us to emphasize the fact that we must remain that clear and distinctive voice. Even if we are not totally addressing the needs across board, that is our most challenging need as a people. Secondly, these problems you are raising are very important, but unfortunately, a lot of important problems are not solved at a go. Sometimes the process of solving the problem or talking about it prefers a solution. So I think that what we must do, outside being a voice, is to become a vehicle for Igbo consensus across a range of issues. I don't see us return to the issue that once Ohanaeze says, everybody will agree. But I see us remain in a position where Ohanaeze can use his convening power and be the point where you weld consensus. And consensus is difficult to get out of a nation of 50 or 60 million people. We're not a small group of people. A day that somebody will say and everybody will agree is gone. We are 60 to 70 to 50 to 60 million Igbos. So Ohanaeze must then work very hard, very tirelessly, in being the point where we weld consensus. Beyond that, it must also seek to become a vehicle of value creation. No matter what happens in Nigeria, whether we become sovereign, whether we seek security in Nigeria, the people that are our neighbors today will be our neighbors forever. We must find a way of dialoguing with them and living with them and dealing with them. That is why that consensus on how do we relate to other Nigerians is so important. Why sometimes it seems as if our political problems are intractable is because we don't have a consensus on how do we deal with them. And Ohanaeze finds himself at a junction between politics, between principles, between culture, and yet he doesn't have the benefit of state power. So in summary then, I think that we are dealing with a complex problem. I think we should continue talking about it. I think that the internal structure of Ohanaeze is extremely important to work on, but let us not lose sight of the fact that even when we don't get the internal structure right as of today, we've been able to be good on the outside. So let us remain a very strong voice. Let us be the place where consensus is generated. Let us be the place where value is created. It will take patience, it will take statecraft, but that is the way to go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. Chris, are you there? I'm okay. I'm done.
Yeah, right. I know. Thank you. Thank you, Ferdinand. Is John Wago here? John Wago, could you please give us your intervention, just 3 minutes? And if he's not there, Andy Wabali, could you come on? Okay, here you are, John. Go ahead.
Chief Unyiannwu, the President General, Abu Ogidi, will be Onitsha, and distinguished chairman of the occasion, Dr. ELEAZU. Ndewonu, Igbo. Actually, I'm very, very excited at this program, and I want to sit back and listen with rapt attention, because I am an Igbo Union-born child, away from Igbo land. I was born in Zaria, I grew up in Zaria, to what is being said is exciting to me because my mother was President Igbo Union Zaria. So the women were carried along. There was a women's wing in Zaria. The major towns of the north, Kano, Zaria, Kaduna, and Jos, have strong Igbo Union presence. And it worked efficiently, as Dr. ELEAZU has said. I think that Igbo Union did not function well in Igbo land, except in Aba, parts of Port Harcourt. In Enugu, it was nearly unknown. Lagos had a strong base, as Chief Engineer Chris Okoye announced. I have no reservation in thanking everybody that has made Ohanaeze stand till date, through thick and thin. Those people must be complimented. Professor Nwabeze especially must be complimented. I've been almost at the epicenter of it in the past 20 years. So I have lived at point session, seeing all the problems and taking part, policy formulation and court cases, everything. I thank the President PG for the external show of strength that Ohanaeze has generated. I think that is very, very good. Igbos rely very much on Ohanaeze. We must not let them down. So the problem of finance, etc., can be worked out. But the organization is a necessity for the. I am done. Thank you all.
And you, Abani?
Good evening, everybody. I want to recognize His Majesty, the Obi of Onitsha. I love my heart for you, sir. The PG, Ohanaeze, NDIGBO Chief NNAEMEKA, and Dr. ELEAZU, Chairman of the Association. I want to thank every one of us that have spoken. We've spoken very well. I want to talk on a little bit on integration of the Igbo nation. There are a lot that has to be done within the larger Igbo-speaking group. The minorities which I represent, my name is Andy Wabali. I'm an Ikwere. I'm from Ikwere. I'm from Isiokpo in Ikwere local government. My people, we call ourselves the Uroha people. And our relationship, I want to dwell very much on our relationship and what the way forward that will go, since this is Ohanaeze, yesterday, present, and in the future. I see myself very much as an Igbo man, but I will want Ohanaeze going forward to address a lot of issues around it. We have to be very strategic. We're entering into a nation that everybody is planning. If we go planless, it will be a very big problem for us in the future. We cannot remove our neighborliness. We cannot remove our Igbo-ness in us. We will continue to be part of the larger Igbo-speaking group. It is disheartening that my people, the Igbo people, are always victimized within the context of our unity, within the larger Igbo group. It could be seen from different perspectives. One, due to the failure of the larger Igbo-speaking group to accommodate the Iroha people, the Ikwere people, and other minority, other ethnic-speaking, Igbo-speaking group within, take my own state. I will talk about River State now. Two, the failure of the larger Igbo-speaking group to really understand our distinctiveness and our culture and our tradition. It is very, very important that there is an understanding of the people who we are, and our relationship in the Igbo Union. The failure of the larger Igbo group to respect our value system. I'll give you a typical example. I grew up to know that every person I talk with, they tell me, oh, we changed our name from Umu to Rumo. In my dictionary, in our dictionary, even up to documents before the Civil War, we had our names. We had our names, our towns as Rumo. But people changed it and were taking ownership of us. We want all those to change. And the levity with which the larger Igbo-speaking group take issues that pertain to the Ikwere, Igbo, and other Igbo-speaking minorities in River State. We have always welcomed to be part and parcel of the larger Igbo group from time of the defunct Igbo Union. It could be recalled that the first meeting of the Igbo Union was held in Port Harcourt. It was the reception of Dr. Ong, the first medical doctor of Igbo origin in 1932. My people wholeheartedly accepted the Igbo-ness by ensuring that our names emanated from the larger Igbo group. Names like Nnamdi, names like Chidi, names like Chiere, names like Chima, a lot of other names, we wholeheartedly accepted it. We changed a lot of things to show that we are Igbos. But unfortunately, our larger brothers have always treated us with levity. We have in the past shown a lot of loyalty to the larger group. It should be recalled that even after the Civil War, we continued after the Civil War with the larger Igbo group. We don't forget that it was impossible to win elections in Ikwere land if you are not an NCNC person. I'm a fourth generation of educated people in my place. My both grandparents were pioneer councillors in Ikwere County Council. So my both grandparents too were pioneer teachers and pioneer bankers in my ethnic Ikwere group. We supported NCNC. In fact, my grandfather on the other side failed the election because he supported Action Group. And he always failed the election in my place because he supported Action Group. But the other side, my grandfather on my mother's side was always winning the election. He did not deny his Igbo-ness. Every one of us has always been seen ourselves as Igbos. But unfortunately, the people that denies us are our brothers. Our brothers. Take for instance, Chief Jackson Mbi, before the Civil War, was chairman, Eastern Nigerian Council of Chiefs. He did a lot for the larger group, for Nigeria, the Igbos, for Igbo, and for Biafra. He was the chairman, Eastern Nigerian Council of Chiefs, and equally chairman of Biafran Council of Chiefs. He died heartbroken after the Civil War. These are Ikwere people that contributed wholeheartedly. Take Dr. Obiwali. Dr. Obiwali was one of the most loyal and trustworthy Igbo men in the Senate. His loyalty earned him the Senate leadership in MPP. He wholeheartedly supported Igbo-ness, the Igbo Union. He did everything to make sure that our Igbo-ness comes to play. But we have suffered. My people have suffered very much for being Igbo. After the Civil War, the creation of state, we were denied a lot of things, even allocation of plots in GRA, the allocation of abandoned properties in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is our heartland. Were not given, were totally alienated because of our Igbo-ness. But our brothers denied us too. We lost governorship in 1979 under MPP, contested by Chief Obidike Wonodi. We lost because of the propaganda by our Ijo brothers that Igbos are coming back again. In our own town, we were made second-class citizens. We fought tooth and nail. It was not until 16 years ago, almost 16 years ago, 14 years ago, that we were able to get the governorship of Rivers State. In Ohanaeze, in everything pertaining to Igbo land, we have contributed. The contribution of came, Chief Okobili Wonodi of blessed memory. The contribution of Francis Ella cannot be erased in the Ohanaeze history. This present Ohanaeze history. PG will attest to it. And I will also want to thank the Ohanaeze too for what they have done. This present Ohanaeze, the creation of River State. Without missing words, we consider River State as Port Harcourt State, as the sixth state of Igbo land. I have always been conversing this, that we need to be integrated and we need to be very strategic. Look, my people are the mouthpiece at the edge of the river, at the edge of the Atlantic. It is the only access that the Igbo nation has to the Atlantic. And now, in preparation for what might eventually happen in Nigeria, if that integration do not take place, we will find it very difficult to align. Our brothers from the other side, from the the very lower part of my people, are not using words. Don't forget, Igbo language got up to the Atlantic. The Atlantic that Igbo language got up to are my people. We need to be strategic if we must move forward. If we must do much in this present Ohanaeze and in the future, we need to be strategic. My people, we have always been Igbo. We have always been Igbo. I will emphasize it, we have always been Igbo. But the people that have not been that has taken our Igbo-ness for granted are the larger Igbo group. A litmus text is coming. We are always good in terms of everything that has to do with the Igbo nation. We supported Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. We supported Biafra up to the point of losing all our nationality. Before Biafra, we were one of the foremost, most educated ethnic group in former River State. But after Biafra, they marginalized us. We could not get federal appointment. We could not get a lot of things. I say it with tears. Where were my Igbo brothers? They alienated us. We want the new Ohanaeze to take seriously the integration of the Ikwere people. And we want a new thinking around who we are with you. I'll tell somebody, my name is Andy Wabali. The first thing the person will look at me, oh, he's changed his name. My grandfather's name was Eliko, which it was changed because of our Igbo-ness. We did not argue with it, we changed it, it was changed. Most of the people that taught in my place, the missionaries up to the teachers that brought education came from Igbo land, Central Igbo land, to my people. Anybody that answers Oho, he will change, his name is changed to Ofo, and we never argued it. We want a place where we will be treated as one. Look, in 2017, I'll give you a typical example. In 2017, I was part of the delegation that went to visit Nnamdi Kanu in Kuje prison as an Igbo man from River State. In Nzukomuna. By 2018, I was in that child group. My name was missing out of there. I am an Ikwere man. I'm an Igbo man. My name is Andy Wabali. I cannot go and tell anybody the meaning. Nobody can tell me I will kill you today in Igbo language, in any part of Igbo language, without me knowing. But what has my people done for me? My great-grandmother is an Igbo woman from Balai Sochi. We all have our people there, but we are always distrusted when it comes to things that pertains to Igbo. It is only in Ikwere land and in other Igbo-speaking minorities in River State that you have the Igbo Union in every village. Every village of Ikwere, you go, you see that Igbo Union, and you tell us we are one. There is no Igbo Union in Mbise. There is no Igbo Union in Mbise village, or there is no Igbo Union in Abia village. But in Ikwere village, there will be an Igbo Union. We detest all those things. It makes us to be very apprehensive. We want all those things to change. We've seen the papers, we've seen effects of loyalty and everything. In 1979, 1978, 1979, we formed the larger part of MPP. We brought MPP in Rivers State. You cannot say anything about MPP without calling an Ikwere man's name. Chief S.A.J. Wachuku was the National Secretary of MPP. Obi Wali died as a result of the struggle. What struggle? Because we were bringing a foothold in the Atlantic. Nobody, our neighbors from the other side, would not want to hear that. But does our brothers understand? No, they don't. They deride us. They look down on us. They take us with levity. We are, I think, outside the 5 states of, the core states of Eastern Nigeria, Southeast Nigeria, we are the largest Igbo-speaking group in Nigeria. We are the largest Igbo-speaking group. Look at our contribution. Even in the National Assembly, our people, when it comes to election in my state, the first thing they do is they'll say, oh, they are going to, the Ohanaeze in Rivers State will go and be doing, who will they vote for? Oh, yeah, one layer. Am I not your brother? Are we not your brothers? But we will go and look at who we will vote for, other people to vote for. We are not strategic at all in all what we are doing. The issue of abandoned property comes in. Nobody will go and look at the papers and look at what actually happened. Was it the Kore people that took the properties of our fellow brothers? No. Francis Ella was arrested and detained as SSG. Francis Ella was a PAMSEC in former Eastern Nigeria, was ambassador to France. When he came back to form in Rivers State, he was denied being SSG. He was taken to a college to become a registrar in a college. When it was his time to become SSG, because of his Igbo-ness, they refused him. And eventually, when they met him, they couldn't but to arrest him. And first time in the history of Nigeria, check the books. All the Igbo-speaking commissioners in Rivers State Executive Council resigned as a result of the detention of Francis Ella. That was what made our people to say, Port Harcourt state or nothing. Land for land, water for water. Did our people support us? Is a question that I want to put in everybody's mind.
Thank you.
Emmanuel Agoma, of course, my PG knows him very well. He's of blessed memory. They did everything possible to integrate our people very much back, but were never paid for any good thing, for anything. We're always being in the back lodge of betrayal. Until recently, sorry, I know I'm taking time, but
yes,
recently I need to settle all this so that we'll be able to know where we have heard and know how we will go forward. Until recently, we're good enough, my people, to show our Igbo-ness. Uche Okuku was the Secretary General of Ohanaeze NDIGBO. Of late is my kings. We have done everything to be part and parcel of our larger group. Rotimi Amechi is coming up to become president of Nigeria. Uche Okuku is good enough to be president of the Secretary General of Ohanaeze NDIGBO. Rotimi Amechi, in circles, they'll say, he's not Igbo enough. We will not want to see all those things. We want to see an integrated union, an integrated group. Like I said, I will want to keep that. I want to open our minds a bit, so I will be able to see and talk very much and see how we will go forward. Like I said, my name is Andy Nwabali. In what our brother has proposed, written down, the paper our brother presented concerning the formation of Ohanaeze, I will want to look at that constitution. I want us to look at that constitution. In my place, we have FX socio-cultural organization called the Obako Ikwere Convention. Likewise, the Oba people have theirs too. Likewise, the Che people have theirs too. Likewise, the Ekmeya people. Yes.
Andy, thank you very much. Yes, I'm enjoying this lecture, Andy. Andy, hello. Andy, I'm enjoying this lecture. If you can come in a paper, it will be worthwhile. I assure you it will be circulated. But for now, we are still in phase 1. We have not gotten to phase 2, not to talk about the special remarks by the royal father and the governors. So if you pardon me, I'll say, please, I will invite ENYI to make a contribution. We are getting to the younger generation, and we're also gender.
Can I just make this? Can I just make this comment, please?
Okay, one comment, please.
I want Ohanaeze to incorporate our own what they call it, Apex Cultural Organization in my state, and others like Obako Eche, Obako Oba, and Obako Ebea. All of them should come in and be integrated very much into Ohanaeze. The 2 slots given to River State is not enough.
Thank you very much.
Participation in Ohanaeze.
Thank you very much. Our PG has taken notes. Andy, thanks. I still challenge you to do a little paper that could focus the new thinking of Ohanaeze. I will call on Ezine to make her intervention. Let us get the youth perspective as well as gender sensitivity. Ezine, please.
Your Royal Majesty, Oba of Onitsha, I'm talking Mazi. Chief Modo, Anuma talking Mazi. Mr. Emeka, I'm talking Mazi. Malile bakotere bandin na nyuku, Anuma Lile Mazi. On a demiho obioma na, I lile bakotere ba, Nizina, Hebasara Libo, Hebasara and Dibo, Nemetwani Nobi. Maniam Chokwarima Ikukama Lile Chetewuna, or was this okay, Jagamba Draka? You got by your sister, kick out boogie. Mana, because of time ending them, I'm sitting in English, man, I'm going to mix English and Igbo. I recently moved to Nigeria. I wouldn't say recently. I moved to Nigeria in 2015. And when I moved here, all I had was my family. If I had known about Ohanaeze, I probably would have gotten involved from Nigeria and built that network when I came. I run a healthcare business, and I pretty much built it from scratch, creating my own network. If there was something like Ohanaeze that I knew about, that I could tap into, build my network. And I really want to thank Engineer Chris for that wonderful paper. I was taking notes as if I was in a lecture hall, because this is a history that I have never heard of. And so there's a great opportunity being missed, because we all have to be honest with ourselves. There will be no such thing as Ohanaeze. There will be no legacy without the youth. And that is a fact. Youth involvement is very near and dear to me, because in my healthcare business, I've almost turned it into being passionate about leading the next generation of healthcare IT experts, to the point where we've had our businesses in 5 states in Nigeria, and unfortunately, none of them in Igbo land, which is something I am now very passionate to change. It's just that the pandemic happened, and we really are planning very ferociously for 2021. When I read the future objectives for Ohanaeze, I want to really strive and make sure that everyone can really think of Ohanaeze as future focused. The future still lies with the youth. When I look at the participants, I wish I could tell the age range, because I know when Mr. Emeka gave me the opportunity to be part of this, I sent to every single friend that I know, because I realized it is time for the youth to get involved at this level. I love the history in that paper that Engineer Chris shared. It really made me feel connected to actually making sure that more young people know about Ohanaeze and what Ohanaeze stands for. As we outlined the objectives in the paper, the things that struck out to me is youths have to be involved, and I'm very action focused. Youths have to be involved in the leadership and organizational structure. Youths are so different these days that Ohanaeze has to really understand that in order to have transcendent generational legacy, the youth have to be involved, should have been involved yesterday. And I'm so glad that we're getting an opportunity to share this. And one of the things around that is, how does Ohanaeze make sure that the youths feel what Ohanaeze is about, feel the legacy, feel the culture? I can tell you that moving back from Nigeria, I have so many friends that want to come back. They want to visit. And thankfully, because I'm here, some of them have had the opportunity to do that. But I really want to move beyond that and look at how can we have, and how can we impact, how can I work with Ohanaeze to impact the youth to where, and some areas that I see that happening, obviously, is education. Thankfully, I'm here with a very good friend of mine that I knew him from the US, and he actually moved back before me, and that's Mr. Ekenemi Siche. And I say that also inspired me. So if we can move back, I'm sitting thinking, how many more would love to move back? And with Ohanaeze, there's an opportunity to really create an avenue to make that happen. Impact that the youth can feel on ground, education. Now that education is digital, there's no reason why Ohanaeze history, books, references, papers, that can easily be put on an e-learning platform where any youth anywhere in the world that wants to connect to the legacy of the Igbo people can simply go on and read and interact. There can be lectures. This is the future of what the youth are more interested in. I would also...
She's talked enough, don't you think so? Hello? Hello? Hi. Hello? I didn't know.
Sorry, Ada, go ahead and conclude, please. Please unmute yourself, Ezinne.
I apologize for that. I think I lost audio for a second. But one of the things, again, is technology. How can we use technology to focus and really engage the youth in what Ohanaeze is about? And that's why I'm glad to be on this panel and glad to see one of my very good friends on the panel as well. But finally, one of the things I wanted to call out, which is a prime example that can easily be replicated, is what happened in Ghana last year. A lady who, Bozoma St. Martin, she happened to be a well-known marketing guru. She coined this return of, what did they call it? They called it the year of the return in Ghana. They pushed that throughout the year, and it was more of engaging a lot of the Ghanaian diasporas to come and engage in the culture. And they did this throughout the year. And Ghana was able to see over $1.9 billion contributed to their economy. And that is just one person being very eager to introduce her culture to all of her friends in the diaspora. And it was very, very successful. There's no reason why this cannot happen with Ohanaeze in a way to engage the youths. But of course, we have to start somewhere. And I'm really glad and I'm really thankful to have the opportunity that I'm able to share this. But I just want to leave with this question: how will Ohanaeze survive and build transcending generational legacy without the youths being involved today? So that's one thing I want to leave everyone with. And again, ADMIRAL Madnile back Makotra Nabalia.
Ezinne, thank you very much for your profound thoughts. You are part of the solution, so as we are chewing on your question and challenge, please give us some feedback. I'd like to call on Obianuju, please, to follow up and reinforce the youth perspective. Obianuju, please.
Yeah, no member. Ahambo Obianuju. Achọrọ m ikwu okwu maka Ohanaeze na omenala anyị na asụsụ Igbo na ndị youth. Maka mụnwa ebidoro ịmụta asụsụ Igbo ọfụma ihe dịka otu afọ gara aga. mgbe m bidoro ya mere na nkwụjọ mme mistake biko gbaghara m. So oge m bidoro ahụrụ m na enwe ọtụtụ ụmụ ntorobịa nọ na ịntanetị nọ na soshal midia dịka mụ, ha chọrọ ịmụta asụsụ Igbo, ha chọrọ ịmakọ ihe gbasara omenala anyị, ha chọrọ inwe ohere iso asụsụ Igbo dịka ugbu a na Ohanaeze. Ihe m ga-asị bụ na Ohanaeze kwesịrị ịkwado omenala anyị na asụsụ Igbo. Ọmụmaatụ, constitution nwere ike ịdị na Igbo, nzukọ anyị na-eme kịta o nwere ike dị n'Igbo. M na-agbalị isi Igbo kịta. Ihe abụọ bụ na dịka Ezinne kwuru, ọ dị iche inwe youth engagement ka ndị youth mee ihe gbasara Ohanaeze. Dịka ugbu a anyị nwere social media, anyị nwere ike engage the youth via social media, tell people about gwa ha maka Ohanaeze, ka Ohanaeze nabata ndị youth, ka anyị nwee ike ichi na Ohanaeze mata. Ya mere na mbido Elder ELEAZU sịrị na agwọ nọ n'akịrịka n'ala Igbo. Ekwetara m ihe o kwuru. Agwọ nọ n'akịrịka ọ bụrụ na anyị hapụ ka omenala anyị na asụsụ anyị laa n'iyi. Anyị kwesịrị ịkwado ya. Ohanaeze nwee ike inye anyị aka, nye ndị youth aka ịkwado asụsụ Igbo na omenala Igbo.
Oh, bless you.
Emechara.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is now the session for Q&A. Mana, before I hear Jamie, I got Engineer Chris Okoye. I know you were cut short. In 2 minutes, can you give us the capstones, the bullet points, the highlights of your presentation, so that the Q&A will take for 10 minutes? Chris, could you take 2 minutes, please? Chris Okoye, Engineer Okoye, please.
Biko, ekenekwa m unu niile, ndị niile kwula okwu niile kwula maka, mana ọ bụ na unu n'anya okwu niile a na-ekwu. Many people were talking again about the issues of repositioning and putting in place the institutional mechanism for driving the future of Ohanaeze. Although in our constitution very carefully, and that all we are saying therefore is that the new executive that is going to come in must begin the process of fundamentally to put in place the institutional engagement drive, the future growth and development of Ohanaeze. And particularly the youths, an arm of Ohanaeze that caters for the youth. And it is there, it is an institution and a platform that will be properly structured so that the youth can play the kind of role. Even though you see a rivers, even it's all captured in the platforms that will be set up within the Ohanaeze institution. If we can begin to lay those building blocks, so as eventually quickly, even very clear that now we need to be able to delve into the even men and the Madonna, a question the authority of Ohanaeze. That now I need a kwekotalo. That now without Ohanaeze, no more rebendi bonete. All you go to Ebuna, all the institute, all the associations in the mother triangle form is set up. None has taken over the position of Ohanaeze. every effort we have made, there are so many associations that have come up. It is also because of that lack of faith in the capacity of Ohanaeze to give them what they need to see in being able to take the Igbo land to the next level. And I believe that fundamentally, therefore, that is a restructuring, a repositioning that we need to do. We need to go back to Ife Malai. And the buying sell. Oya Juro Ife Melunia, Ife Melunia, and the queer. Oya Maro Ebe Million or Mabia, Amama Ebono Queer. I think we need to go back to the town union concept, which is the basic fundamental platform of Ohanaeze. And that's what gave Igbo land its strength of character. And ADMIRAL, we can then hopefully begin to reap the benefits of the new Ohanaeze, which we have all worked very dedicatedly to create. That's why I say, look, what is going to be the future of Ohanaeze going forward? And we talked about town development unions as basic unit of Ohanaeze. And we also talked about town government. And we have a paper how this town government is going to be set up. I think we also talked about Igbo unity. That now we must obviously restructure Ohanaeze because it has become very important that now here that we might be able to use it to fight that battle which is eluding us up to this moment. Igbo unity without unity amongst the Igbo. Nigeria is waiting for the Igbos to wake up. And the day we wake up, the story of Nigeria and Igbo land will be different. And that is that unity that we're talking about. Ohanaeze leadership and implementation of the organizational structure of Ohanaeze. We need to, obviously, Nana talked about it. Without that institutional framework, without the foundation, and we said Ohanaeze must call upon Igbo, the Nigerian diaspora, to note that the rebuilding of the economy of Igbo land is the major challenge facing the Igbo nation. Although one call, it pursued the presidency of Nigeria with the major problem facing the Igbo nation. It is to rebuild the social economic structure of Igbo land. That is the biggest problem that we are facing at the moment. We also talked about, and we have talked about how it could be done. We talked about Igbo language and culture. Institutionalize Igbo language and culture. There are things we're going to do. We're going to study the language. We're going to set up, institutes at our universities to be able to more or less grow scholars that will become even script writers that can hopefully propel the film industry in Igbo language and so on. There are things that can be done there. And of course, Ohanaeze at a time set up a number of institutions, a number of committees to study all kinds of things. The reports of those committees are all more or less sitting on some shelves, wasting away. And I think that these are studies that will come up to the platforms that will require for this to be done. We talked about education and the education for the future. The youth, they talked about it. And of course, Ndeba say that now, that is where, 1930, 1940, time be the web, but time to education. Between that time and 60 years, we made remarkable, contributions to the field of education. In the Yorubanajo, Kedebes in the Bidolum Basia, Bama Bido 100 years earlier, we were able to beat them. It is that town union and also the churches, also that uniqueness, Melunai Otal, that na pursuit of common good was so fundamental for the sustenance and growth of the Igbo nation. So education for the future, we talked about it as a fundamental principle that the Ohanaeze must now pursue. And we talked about Igbo politics. Politics has become, you know, a thing that perhaps has dealt a very big blow to us and our north. And I think we need to change the concept of politics in Igbo land. And I recommend here, we need to develop a platform that all of us can agree upon. And that is, can we pursue free, fair, and credible election initiative as something that can unify all of us. And we can use it as a platform to make sure that any man that wins an election in Igbo land will win it freely, fairly, and credibly. And I think it is something, and we also have papers that can ensure that this is done. We also made even an effort with Nyawodo's leadership this time around to kickstart it. But it's something that the town unions must buy into so that we can begin to make some efforts in that area. We talked about the review of Ohanaeze Constitution, because it does appear to me that the issue of election for the leadership of Ohanaeze has not worked for us. And I think we must be able to do something about it. We talked about funding. And this is an area that is so fundamental. And if we do not put in place the basic foundation, AGM faith in any organization, your financial guidelines must be implemented. We are supposed to have a budget that will guide the business of Ohanaeze every year. This has obviously not been the case.
Hello? Hello, Chris. Hi. Thank you very much, Sir Chris Okoye. We'll still chew on your paper. I know you have a lot to say, but the time is fast spent. I have a number of questions, but some of them could be captured in our PG's remark. For instance, what is e-movie and all that, and registration and organizational issue. I expect the PG is most competent person to take it. With that, the other ones that are political, like what is the joint resolution to the 2023 presidential election, I don't think it's appropriate now. I would, without ado, if the PG is set for us, and if the control room can unmute the PG, we would like to hear from him, and after that, Abogi will give us his royal message, and we'll begin to wind down because the time is fast spent. Engineer Chris Okoye, thank you very much. Our PG, are you ready for us? Hello?
Yes, Chris, thank you very much. Quite honestly, the time is already fast spent. We have less than 25 minutes to the end of the program. And it's been unfair that you haven't let us speak since the beginning of the program, in spite of our ages and in spite of the volume of response that we are supposed to make. But first, let me thank Emeka Ogochu and all those who have helped him, from Center for Memories, from Aki Kenga, Igbo Lagos, Igbo Intelligence, Igbo National Council, and the other young people who have joined us on this group, for their selflessness, their patriotism in putting together this. I believe that this is novel. It has never happened. And without sounding immodest, I think that in this administration, we have provoked you to having something like this, because we put Ohanaeze on the center table with bare hands. Everything you've been talking about here, I find very exciting. I don't want to go into Chris's paper, because I will touch a bit of it as I go along. But suffice it to say that some of the verbiage of the history of Oha-Na-Eze is not completely true. In 1975-76, when Oha-Na-Eze came into power, or when Oha-Na-Eze was formed, it was about the time that Murtala Mohammed staged the coup and came back to Nigeria. It was like the revisit of the UNC model, because the clique that did his coup was the clique that was responsible for the murder of the UNC. And there was apprehension in Igbo land that people were not well organized, will be difficult. And don't forget that the war completely decimated our socio-cultural organizations in terms of town unions and what have you. And when we came back, they began these new edicts of autonomous communities and all sorts of things, fragmenting our cultural groups and orientations, our lines of loyalty and authority, that they became diffuse. Leadership was impossible to recruit. All our fathers were accused as saboteurs and those who financed the war and who were on the side of Ojukwu. But they still had the courage to come out and organize. That meeting you referred to in a Caribbean's house, I took my father to that meeting. I drove him to that meeting. And I clerked for Chief CHUKWUDOZIE, who took the minutes of that meeting. So I remember it very well. Their idea was, what is the position of Igbos in the country called Nigeria? You must put it to them that no matter how much you accuse the NPN of hijacking Oha-Na-Eze, without Oha-Na-Eze, Kwame would not have become vice president of Nigeria. And we faced exactly the same junction in which we are now. Zik was anxious to use NPP to acquire a negotiating power from the very commendable. The rest of the people in MPN saw the constitutional provisions of making it impossible for us to be relevant to the governance of Nigeria without belonging to the party that will control a majority of the country. As God would have it, it worked for us on both sides. While the MPN won, it didn't have a parliamentary majority to work. And Igbos showed a characteristic solidarity in the engineering of the accord between the MPN and NPP. It was the best time that Igbos ever had in the democracy of Nigeria. We not only had the vice president, we had the speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, and we had ministers in very, very significant ministries, and a very strong presence in the legislature, given the NPP and the MPN alliance. We face the same road junction today. Our youths are feeling the same way we felt when the war broke out, when we felt that we had no place in this country and that we must go on our own and have secession. We tried it. All our hopes that we will get a lot of foreign assistance to struggle out the war and see that the combination of conquest and diplomacy can help us to achieve some self-determination. In between, we lost opportunity for negotiations for a confederation. But in the end, we were defeated, and consequences of defeat visited us. Now, right now, the question is, do we still have the logistics to pursue self-determination? Now, can we continue to be marginalized in the community of ethnic groups called Nigeria? It became clear to us in Oha-Na-Eze that any attempt to fight our cause without an alliance with other sections of Nigeria who felt the same way as we did would be a waste of time. It will single us out, and they use a police action and visit all kinds of inhuman reprisals on us, which will obviously get the deaf ear of the international community. So this Oha-Na-Eze pioneered the Southern and Middle Belt Leadership Forum, getting 4 zones of Nigeria out of the 6 zones to have one platform. That platform brought restructuring to the centerpiece of Nigerian discourse. It is still the trending discussion today in Nigeria. And it is because we did it that we have become relevant. Don't forget that while this was going on, we got a quick notice from northern youths to leave the north. And our people are heavily invested outside Igbo land. And wherever they are very strong business-wise but politically weak. And their investments are therefore a very great risk. Outside Nigeria, we went to Ghana and discovered 1 million Igbos. with two factions of Ohanaeze and two EZEILOs. We dissolved the factions, we formed the caretaker committee, we wrote to the Ministry of Interior and withdrew recognition from the contending factions and engineered some kind of unity. But you see, in all these things that we are talking about here, the best motor car built from the best barbarian motor works cannot move without fuel. As President General Ohanaeze, I have never claimed one kobo allowance. Nobody has paid for my petrol or for my air ticket. Nobody has paid any of my domestic staff, my drivers, my secretary, my stewards, my cooks, my security men, even police attached to me, I pay them allowances. Now, this is like a charity organization. My children told me that they have lost a mother who is dead, and they have also lost a father who is alive. But because NDIGBO si n'ọdụnada be mmadụ, ọdụdọ dalbem, ndị Enugu, ọdal n'Enugu, ndị Enugu esi n'ọmụ ga-eji. Kedu onye na-agba ọsọ ụmụnne ya si anyị ga-ejere ozi? My happiest day will be on January 10th when I leave this job. It's been a burden, very difficult to carry. And I have found it difficult to abandon it. All of you who are making contributions today, some of you have individually made intellectual contributions. You have done all sorts of things. But, you know, the bottom line is that in our system today, political leadership holds both political and economic leadership. Government is too important in Nigeria. Everything is being governmentalized. You cannot become a councillor in Nigeria today unless a governor sanctions you. You can't become a local government chairman. You can't go to House of Assembly. The governor and the shareholders of the party must approve you. So Ohanaeze is a bishop without a cathedral, an imam without a mosque. So we can only reflect the tabula rasa, the clean spirit of the society, the moral values, the general opinion of the Igbos, but with no capacity to enforce it. Now, pari passu with this is that a desire by every important Igbo man to say Nyabo Kucha Omo. If my own is not accepted, nobody's own is affected. Because of that, we have several organizations. Our youth organization is unrecognizable because there are about 5 Igbo youth organizations, only one of which is recognized by us. But all the others get 100% coverage by all the newspapers. And the impression is given that we are like silk and you know, that we cannot be united. I have tried to keep a deaf ear to this and not respond to it, just walking through the course that I can manage without being distracted by these disparate organizations. But I can tell you the next leadership will face the same thing. You say we depend on governors' subventions. But you would like to know that as President General Ohanaeze, there's a governor in the Southeast who has never taken my phone call. I don't want to embarrass him by mentioning his name, but he already knows and we've discussed it, and he has indicated his intention to turn a new leaf. You will know that what do the governors give Ohanaeze? 1 million naira a month. How many of them have given it? The only state that is not owing Ohanaeze 1 naira is Enugu State. Anambra owes 9 months. Ebonyi owes 20-something months. Abia owes 30-something months. Rivers owes how many? As many months as we have been in office. Delta owes as many months as we have been in office. What is our recurrent expenditure? A minimum of 5 million a month. So I have to be begging people and taxing myself and my assets and my resources to make the difference every month. The best motor car built from the Bavarian Motor Works cannot move without fuel. The greatest problem of Ohanaeze is one finance. The second problem is the politicization of the traditional instruments that will make Ohanaeze's decisions enforceable, namely the town unions, the cultural organizations, the affiliate organizations, and the town unions outside Igbo land. Somebody had talked about the Lagos organization. Recipsale Peter. It is good for you to see it as it is. But more fundamentally, the Constitution of Nigeria has made private initiative effect in areas in exclusive control of the federal government largely difficult, if not impossible. But we've decided to confront it. by establishing a stabilization fund committee. The Obu-Nan-Ayimude committee is supposed to give us a governance structure by which we can now sell to the Igbos. How do we capitalize to take our destiny into our hands? Look, the world is moving away from oil, but we have alternatives. We have navigable sea paths in Obiaku, in Oguta, in Onitsha, and what have you. If we get together as a group of people and using our people in the federal government, we can obtain the necessary licenses to privatize the development of seaports. And all our people who are in Lagos will come back because they have no reason to be there. We can develop the road between Port Harcourt and Aba, between Enugu and Aba and Port Harcourt in such a way that movement of goods and services there can be optimized. We can go into agro-allied industries of gigantic capacity that will take resources into the nooks and crannies of Igbo land and give us the necessary capital to further re-engage in global economy, turning our place into the Catalonia of Nigeria or the Bayern of Nigeria in relation to Spain and Germany. There is no shortage of ideas. I mean, I've read his papers. I have discussed some of the issues in his papers with him outside of this. The will is not lacking, but the unity is not there. I am happy that ABARIBE is on this. I have visited our members in the National Assembly, in the home of the Deputy President of Senate at that time. They told me they will reply me in 1 week. They have not replied me till today. And I visited them in the first year of my tenure. I am like a bishop without a cathedral. You ask me to lead you. The political class are not prepared to work with me. The traditional organizations are totally dysfunctional and politicized. My successor will face the same challenges. Unless we have a restructured federation and return the sacrosanct nature of the ballot box. Unless popular people emerge on the basis of adult suffrage, the will of people can never be respected. It is not just an Igbo problem. It is a Nigerian and an African problem. I'm really in love with this girl called Izin. Within the balance of my tenure, I would like to challenge her if Emeka would make her particulars available to me. It is people like this that can crack the egg. Let us move to the children. If the adults can no longer fall in line, let us see what we can do with the children. Because there are a lot of easy truths hanging down there that we can pick up. I want to promise you that from what I have heard from the Osita Obu committee, we are now going to find the formula to get out of this jigsaw. Look, unless you domesticate politics on adult suffrage that is transparent, free, and has the conscience of the people and truthfulness at its core foundations, leadership in this part of the country is a waste of time. Unless you domesticate development in the hands of the private sector, motivated by the necessity to join the international highway of modern research and modern means of making money, we cannot get away from this lockdown. Mark you, God has gifted us with a lot of resilience, a lot of ingenuity, and a lot of capacity to survive in very difficult situations. What we are going through now is not as bad as what we went through. We have no doubt in my mind that we will come out of it. But it will require a lot more sacrifice, like what I see from the contributions of most people who have talked here today. It is clear from everything everyone has said here that we have all reached the same point where we think that we must all redouble our efforts and do something differently. I cannot thank you enough for your participation and your continued support. I pledge that I will do the best I can within the next 3.5 months that I have to be in this saddle. But I need support like the kind Emeka Ugoju and his friends have done tonight. I wish we can continue this discussion and in doing so, mobilize the conscience of our people to understand that together we stand strong and divided will be mutilated one by one. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, PG. Whenever you speak from Ibadan days, I know after your speech, nobody can add a word. Thanks. And on that note, the panel, I say thank you very much for your very, very insightful, profound contributions. Senator Anyanwu, I think, took her leave, so the panelists were grateful. And Sir Chris Okoye, your paper, I will plead with the PG, should be sent to the Secretariat for wider circulation and for people to make their comments, because it's like an anchor that could direct our future discussion. The Obi of Onitsha has been waiting patiently, and it's quite rude to keep our royal father, whose dinner time is fast gone, as well as I can now cite Chief EMMANUEL Jagamba, because sorry, I didn't see you quite in time. I would also plead with you that after Abogidi, you will take you will be quick to make your contributions. I've seen Admiral EZEOBA now, I've seen Professor NGOZI EZEILO, I've seen Chief Emeka Diwe, I've seen Chief Ikuna, and Professor Anthony Ejiofor, who is the chairman of World Igbo Congress. Very soon, you people will make your contribution. Please, I will urge everyone to hook on and let's listen to our royal father. Abogidi, your royal advice, please. Hello? Control, please connect Abogidi.
Yeah, I think I'm okay now. Yes. No, I can remember our PG Chief Nyamodo. Nayoku Dr. ELEAZU, and I can Jagamba, Chairman, Koichi. I've listened patiently, even Tata, right from the beginning. And everybody has made a valid point. And I don't think that anything that has been said today hasn't been said before. In one forum or the other, in one way or the other. And I keep asking myself, when do we transit from too much discussion, too much analysis, and too much meetings into action and action and action? ELEAZU said, Africa. And really speaking, Africa, we're in a competitive situation with the rest of the components of Nigeria. And we have to pull ourselves together. And if you're competing with somebody, I think you've got to also look at the strengths and the weaknesses of the people you're competing with, to know how your own strengths and weaknesses match up, and where you need to make adjustments to be in a strong position. So I don't want to repeat what I said today. A few points that I didn't hear talk about. Well, the finance situation is so fundamental that everybody has talked about it. And unless Ohanaeze is financially independent, we cannot move forward. That is for sure. It was mentioned that the organizer is an elite organization. It's true. And it is because of that elitism that there was space for IPOB and MASOL to take root. If Ohanaeze was ab initio, a grassroots upwards organization, there would not be any space for IPOB and MASOL. Not that IPOB and MASOL are 100% bad, but whatever they were doing would have been under the umbrella and influence of Ohanaeze for an optimization of the Igbo situation in Nigeria. I think that, yes, I have NDIGBO, and we've had our own traditional organizational structure at the village level, moving up and moving up and moving up. But in the 21st century, we're in the 21st century, and we have to also see what others are doing. Any organization or community that does not have a strong leadership and a focused leadership cannot stand against a competition. They say, well, 500 and something, I don't know how many hundred communities I need. And each one is autonomous.
and it becomes difficult. I mean, we just lost Alex CHUKWUMA, and then if you go past it, we talk about Michael Okpara a lot, and Michael Okpara was a kind of focused leader that NDIGBO were looking for, because he was an action man, and he got a perception of the feelings of the people, and they tried to put it into action. And that's what leadership is all about, to reflect the greatest ambitions and yearnings of your people. So we need to be focused. We need to learn from others how they're doing, and what you can learn from them. I felt very lonely being here today as a traditional ruler. I don't know whether it was tokenism or that's the way it is. It should be. But after Ohanaeze, and I think there's more Oha and very little less. That has been a case all along. So if you go to the, I think Chris's presentation, putting the constitution of Ohanaeze on what comprises Ohanaeze, there's no mention of traditional rulers there. No mention of youths, of course, and of course the women leaders and so on. And I think that generates a problem, because today, the traditional institution is there. It has been there before before colonialism, but we didn't understand. EZEILO is the oldest traditional institution. The monarchy is the oldest in the whole country of Nigeria. Definitely oldest than anyone else in Nigeria. But I think there was an aberration, and they were trying to recreate it. Today, most communities, definitely in Anambra State and other states also, are looking for the best and the brightest to come into their traditional institution and lead the people at the grassroots level. So if Ohanaeze is a grassroots organization or a grassroots-based organization, the traditional institution must have a role to play in putting the people together and integrating and so on. But then, of course, we, the traditional institution, and the town unions are all subject to the forces of the political class represented by the government. Okay, the town unions are not independent in the manner that they were under the Igbo Union and Igbo State Union. There are political weapons for the government, and if a town union leadership is not playing the tune of the government, it gets dissolved, and a caretaker government is installed, especially when the elections are coming. So we have a problem to restore the independence of the town unions and to get a balance in the relationship between the town unions and the traditional institution. And it's doable because we're doing it in Onitsha, and many other communities are also doing it, where the town unions are working together with the traditional rulers, and then they can now feed into Ohanaeze at that local level, and they begin to build up. And I think it's important that we pay attention to that. I recognize it's a big challenge until we can get our town unions to become independent in the manner that they were in the past under Igbo State Union and Igbo Union. We cannot move too much in terms of that. The organization of Ohanaeze, somebody said it was very nebulous, and it is nebulous. But outside Igbo, particularly in the north. I've studied Kano, and I've been to Plateau State and interacted with them. And they are organized very well at the town union level, and then building onto the state level and so on. So much so that the local authorities now recognize them. So Plateau State government has an SA, a special advisor on Igbo affairs, as distinct from an SA on diaspora affairs, Both of them are Igbo people and are in the government of Plateau State. the Zaria Emirate Council has an Igbo as a member, so as Kano. Why is that happening? Because our town unions over there are not under the control of our political leaders at home. So there's a lesson to be learned from there. Without going too much further, I'll write some of my comments down and send it to the Ohanaeze leadership, because I think that a lot of useful information and a lot of useful analysis have come out today. We cannot stop here. And my recommendation is that Ohanaeze leadership should set up a workshop of our best and brightest. Some of them spoke today, and the others who didn't come today, in diverse fields, to come together. Even if they have to stay there for 1 week, let them stay there for 1 week. With professional facilitators, people like Kenny Bokwe of KPMG, previously, and so on. And let us have a complete, a strategy session on the way forward for Ohanaeze, looking at our challenges and finding solutions, so that the next leadership will have a template to take on and work upon. Okay, that's my ultimate suggestion. And to round up, I need to particularly commend Chief Unyanwudu for his leadership over the period. I've had the benefit of working closely with him on a few issues, and I dare say that if he had 20% of the support that we all expect he should have in terms of funding, government support, etc., could have done even more than he has achieved so far. But he has achieved quite a lot. Building bridges to the other neighboring ethnic groups and so on, and actually providing leadership. They expect leadership from him. I think it's a great achievement. I think we shouldn't underplay it, and I think it sets a pattern for successor. But we need to have a well thought out template, and I think a workshop should provide that basis. To have a strategy document which can provide, look at the constitution and funding and all the challenges, the town unions and the independence, and etc. Bye. I'll stop so far. Like I said, I'll write a note and send it in to the leadership of Ohanaeze on my own thoughts on the way forward. Dalun, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Abogidi. And as usual, your rare blessing, and we expect the notes to the Secretariat of Ohanaeze. Now, Aheji Agamba, sorry we have kept you waiting, just like Abogidi. It's not a mark of disrespect. Mana Mini Jurakiron, could we have you? We know that we are trying to manage time, but Aheji Agamba, we need your brief intervention before we call Professor EZEILO and Admiral DELE EZEOBA, Professor Anthony Ejiofor, and the rest. Aheji Agamba, please, can you control, please, could you connect Aheji Agamba?
Because all protocols observed. Everything ENGR, how we have been discussed within these 5 hours, a lot have been said. There's a DELE and agenda. But don't worry, 1 or 2 points into it points out. One of them, all we have was one narrow came from River State. That's my Andy. I think his name is Andy.
Andy Wabali.
Andy. Now, I want to. Andy Wabali, yes. Now, listen. I know him. In 1950, I was a teacher's boy in St. Peter's. It's from there. I brought up your place. From there, I went to St. Patrick's. People are deliberately spoiling our relationship with our brothers. And and more those that us are living the older ones. Now, this question of Rome and so on is not Igbos, they are missionaries. When missionaries came, they wanted to have a central Igbo. They did it to Suka, they did it to Onitsha, they did it to Oha-Na-Eze. So there is no Igbo language that was not distorted by the missionaries who wanted a central Igbo. Those things about Umokoro or Umoko or Rumola and all those things were done by the missionaries. They were CMS missionaries from Britain who came here with local missionaries. Your people are mainly CMS people, and I was in CMS, so I know that very well. I would like you, please, to go and correct this impression. There is no Igbo, in Suka and Abakaliki, there is no town that didn't have a distinction because of the effort to create a central Igbo. Please. So, Igloro, Bekundoro, I will may discuss. I'm speaking equally, some of you are not hearing it. Now, second point I want to make is that we thank the President General and we thank the whole of the family. There is no way we can talk about Ohanaeze, this phase of Ohanaeze without talking about them. Ohanaeze has gone through 3 phases. The first one MPP and MPN struggle killed it. Second time, Buhari came to power, they were banned, proscribed. When the ban lifted political activities, every I was running for presidency and I didn't have any anchor. And that is why I went to Ohanaeze. You see, Zik, Opera, Ibiam, all of them gave consent. And the father of John. And I want to tell you that people like Joe, the brother of John, was a great force. And one of the family gave us the compound we have today. So we thank John for his ability. John has worked under me in many committees. I was chairman planning and strategy. The conference that was done in 1996 or so was the delegates were sent from Ohanaeze. Ohanaeze selected Ojukwu, selected equipment, and if you remember, in that conference, these 6 geopolitical zones came up, and it was Igbos who brought up that point, part of work done by Ohanaeze because of it. So Ohanaeze has played a major role in most of this. I can't stay here today to conclude. Even the one in 2004, which I went myself, then I was chairman plan and strategy. It was led by Juruku. Ohanaeze also played a part in everything. The River State, our brothers there, Ohanaeze played a part in changing the derivation from $3 to $13. I was the chairman, business leaders of Eastern Nigeria. I led the delegation that went to the president and we fought hard and changed the derivation from $3 to $13. Even when we went for that press conference, it was fought hard. We all came together to see if we can make it to 25. Igbos has always supported our brothers in the River State. So I want you to tell your younger ones the true stories about Igbos. We are not greedy people who want to fight our brothers or despise our brothers. We are not. But this is a story being handed over unfortunately by people. I respect Aguma. I respect the Kublewan Odi. I respect all these people. I respect Ezewoluche. All these people have been people who have been there in Ohanaeze. Senator Ella. Senator Ella never missed any meeting of Ohanaeze. Aguma never missed any meeting. Never missed. But today, that caliber many Igbos, they are who are credible, who are there, but they are not actually showing interest. It looks as if there are those kinds of people to come and find out what people are doing there. So please, we Igbos have a lot of respect and love for our brothers. We fought for Jonathan, even though he's an German. And it is from that way, we Igbos, I fought most of the battle about Jonathan. Now, finally, the thing of finance. This question of talking of finance, there's no way you can run Ohanaeze without money. We have to encourage, we have to set up a finance committee. It's an agenda. I believe PG will take up what they say. They are very important about question of going to have town union contributing as well. It's our friend of his. But you know, the type of money spent today requires an input by some money backs. We should encourage our people to know that Ohanaeze is a very powerful tool for stability, for progress and development of Igbo land, so that they will not do that. And then let me also correct the impression that in River State, in Ikore, that every time there is a town Igbo union, there is no, it's not Igbo union. Those unions are not Igbo. They are just their own towns. Now, Ohanaeze, finally, let me say, the basic, I was one of those who, I funded and financed this. I cannot forget one person, Jerome Dozzy. These are people who played the major role in this. I provided a lot of money for it. But the principle of Ohanaeze is that any child born in Igbo land from the date of birth is a member. So every child born in Ikore lands, any part of Ikore lands, a jail, all those places, from anyone, the day is born, is a member of Ohanaeze. Now, all these other groups can come and submit their constitution to the PG, and they will recognize you. You are talking about Obako Ikore. Yes, Obako Ikore has a right to belong. Apply to PG. PG will go to it and admit them. Obako Eche, Obako Ahoda, or all of them. Was there.
Hello? Hello? Thank you very much, Ahija Agamba. Hello?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello? Ahija Agamba, I thank you very much for the historical depth. Having said that, Professor NGOZI EZEILO, if you are around, could you be connected? Let us soften the discussion a little bit intellectually. Professor EZEILO, please. Control.
Madam, please, can you unmute yourself?
Control, we can't hear.
me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good, because I was muted. Ndị be anyị ekene m unu. Ndị na-achị anyị ọ ga-adịrị unu mma o. Nke onye chiri ya lie. The PG Nwodo Ikehe. His Royal Majesty Obi of Onitsha and the chief organizer of this event, Chief Emeka Ugoji. Onye ọbụla ana m ekene unu. Obi dị m ụtọ ka m participating at this virtual conference, and anọ m na-ege nnọọ ife a na-ekwu since 5 o'clock and sign in on the dot. I know ekwugo a lot and I don't intend to take time further. I will speak shortly and hopefully for 3 minutes. And I actually base my intervention on two Igbo philosophical adage, or what I consider as fundamental principles in Igbo being, the cosmology of NDIGBO as a people, bound in language and culture. The first one is the concept of Igwebike, meaning together we are stronger, or we are stronger together. And when we are in it together, we are better off, obviously. And in the aims and objectives of Ohanaeze, offer ground where this is the concept. And if any in the Igbo name, but the question, Keduzie be febido maybe and follow PFA methodologically. The PG, before PG, the current PG, it be the chiba some of us, especially the intelligentsia like me. Anaji polo, Ohanaeze and I go to Afanaga this way. But since all but an ochichi go the issue of leadership and not I guess where surmount the problem of leadership. Only because of Batasia intelligentsia. In fact, in the mud if you na this famma would make Wazia Nenyanyu before. Loud and clear voice. Of course, someone learned just solo Ohanaeze when I ganya they are doubt here. Man, if any the kind of made that unity book, he went every structure of the society. I am a works in silos. Kita if I'm a champion, and if any no netinyani, man include Lukwanya Obana Mando Mwanya and Fanchanine, Nkobo no yellow, and now Bambona Lawyer, Makamana, and with credible leadership. So back to Ohanaeze and the concept of Igwebike. Nkabi farmer and Kebunolu na spring court. Ogen Kamokedin na spring court. And we're questioning how my Igbo, man from a community development. A man go be feni na lo, rural electrification, the bany na lo ma school, me feni ne, and you want development plan. And open a Julia Gaba. On where it felt I get Gina Sina, even Nana Babus dying over there, and if I see on my name and kind name, Ubudani, and where my boy went banya below London. If I do another one quickly because of lack of time, Onyaga and 1 year, and it has come up a lot here. And from that Onyaga and 1 year principle is is equity, justice, inclusion, to the about sustainable development goals of United Nations, and inclusion, leave no one behind. If I be fendi woman before, and do fan chani nebuma this town union, I mean the time concept of town union, Ohanaeze, town hall meeting, age grade, if any and the buying them were not organized. So Onyaga and 1 year at the core of Ochichonya Puchea, which is the democratic and republican nature. So Kedi finally game for survival and development of NDIGBO. For it to be guaranteed, I cannot practice these principles. Ofuma, Igwebike, Onyaga and 1 year, if I could be the duality in our cosmology. Of course, Onya Juladia Jonge, and 1 day the number was in Kegame Abatobi Mado. If Unanya Onya B5 gauges the way Chobandi also for cooperation and collaboration. Makomurega Kusosia were survivor as a people. Even if Nifunanya gave the gauge Kongwanyon, we negotiate, we bargain with our collective interest. And that is what is important. What we want, we can be achieved in Nigeria, and we can all contribute to build the Nigeria of our dream. It is in our hands to achieve that. Because we are most democratic. I know Jepo, I know diaspora, I know Mad, I know Mad, Ibuamaka. Man, I get me when I involve the youth. They engage one. Maka the role of women, my Senator Chris Anyanwu Ekwugie, Ndozi Ekwugie, and Ekenelum, in particular Chris Okoye, Engineer Chris Okoye, Makifo, and PG. Maka Ode Ona Oko Mwani, when the role of women must be recognized in Igbo land. Our men must support them to excel. And we're quality women, intellectual achievers, entrepreneurs who are successful in every facet of life. But I need any fact. If for Zobo Batazile Nadia, my new one on like more, you know, Professor of Law and my own organization on one. If I need Tibu Zobwe, if I can define in a violence, or even violence against women, and if I have Igbo culture. So I gave video when the Banya and if any maybe. And Malakage Sime, the question I put about Ohanaeze and the rural the lack of grassroots involvement. Only message to the question, is Ohanaeze designed for more outside Igbo land than in Igbo land? Because if you go number one in and whatever you get, but the Fundi Ohanaeze are very active, just like any Igbo state. Yes. So, hello. But are you talking to me? Then I'm running up in a minute.
Okay, I am not.
It's less than a minute. Yes. So I'm aware of the time, even though we spent time, and I hope that the conversation can continue. It cannot start and stop today, definitely. And it has been ongoing, and we must recognize all the efforts that have been put into it. And in trying to finally sum up, I think in the end we need to cooperate, build consensus, work on Igbo unity, Udodi Oganira Bata, and peace breeds development. Today, I'm a conflict. In the bank, you take no one and no chieftaincy. If I may be sick, or believe it may be sister and I get be. We must not stand alone. We must build friendship across the Niger. We've done it before. I know people are doing it. We must also have forgiving spirit, open-mindedness. Someone anyway can say I go spirit injury from the war. That is true. But we must accept criticisms and be ready to amend our ways. Shift attitude. So I get change makana iwele funanya sobendi ozo ibia panya onwe ganya accept na oga nwekwa ife nwe ka imekene ka ndia ka court kene ndia malaka ife obro na iga na ibu ewu ndi ba na kwambo so mana I ga-ejisi ike we accommodate others I ga-achọta ife anyị na-achọ osita deba mma ọ ga-adịgbo ekene n'ụlọ daalụ na Chukwu gozie Igbo niile daalụ.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. I'm informed that you are not alone. We have our royal father, the chairman of Enugu State Council of NDIGBO, His Majesty, His Excellency Lawrence Agubuzo. If he can be connected, maybe let him just give a royal greeting before Admiral DELE EZEOBA gives his intervention. Control, please, can you connect His Majesty just to wave at us, just a wave. Thank you very much.
Chris, what's the name again?
Biko ana m ewevu etu esi gwa m ka m mee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I had everybody from beginning to the end. I thank you very much. Emeka Ugwoju na ndị otie organized ife nwa. Unu mere nnukwu contribution to ndị Igbo. Chukwu ga-akwụ unu ụgwọ.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Control, please. Can we have Admiral EZEOBA? And as he's doing that, Chief Joy Ikuna, Chief Diwe, please, you get ready for intervention. Hello?
EZEOBA is now on.
Hello.
EZEOBA,
Admiral, can you hear me?
EZEOBA is now on.
Hello, Chris. Hello?
Professor, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello? Hello,
Yes.
Chris.
We can hear you.
Yes,
You're good to go.
Admiral, I can see you. I can hear you. Fire on.
Let me quickly acknowledge the existing protocol as established. But I'd like to also extend my sincere regards to Abogidi. Abogidi Ekenekwabe. And if Chief Lawrence Agoboza is still there, I salute you too, sir, Ambassador, and His Royal Highness. Let me also appreciate and thank Emeka Ugojo and his team for putting up this wonderful platform for us to scintillate and cross-fertilize ideas on very important subject of Ohanaeze and NDIGBO. But I must also appreciate the PG, my senior brother and good friend, Chief Unyanwodo. A lot of people have spoken and a lot has been said. The theme of today's discourse to me is important, but I'd like to also set the stage by saying that the building blocks of the discourse have been put in place, as many people have spoken. So let me focus on not just the past today, let me look at the future moving forward. Let me discuss one of the very important instruments that is supposed to define and drive the Ohanaeze and NDIGBO as it is. And that is the Constitution of Ohanaeze and NDIGBO, where the objectives were clearly spelled out. I don't want to go through those because I assume that everybody understands and knows what those are. But one thing I find out in the opening statement of the Constitution is that it does state that it's a non-partisan, that Ohanaeze and NDIGBO is a non-partisan organization. But from the discourse so far today, with regards to what Ohanaeze has done in the past and is doing today, the word politics was a reoccurring decimal. So for me, perhaps one of the reasons why we have not achieved much is because of the disconnect between the set objectives and the connotation for which the organization was established on. Moving forward, I want to think that to pre-position Ohanaeze and NDIGBO, to properly do that which it is doing now, we need to restructure it to become the platform for which NDIGBO can derive political objectives as an instrument with which we can propagate ourselves in the larger Nigerian nation. Having said that, deriving from that position, it becomes paramount, has been alluded to by those who spoke before, with regards to the Igbo Union organizations in the early 60s, 50s, as it were. That was a voice from which irrespective of where you are, you buy into it, key into it, and it drives the process. Both economic, political, cultural, environmental, or otherwise, whatever it is. I think that should be the real orientation that we should be looking at. So we might have to, as a matter of urgency, revisit the Constitution, address some of those issues that will mitigate or has been mitigating the effort of the organization to achieve its goals. For instance, Agogidi captured succinctly that even the traditional rulers were not captured as members of the EMOBI. So how could you galvanize the people and get the support that you need to drive the process when the custodians of tradition and culture, who should be the link and the driving force, are not members of IMOBI. So that again is a problem. People have spoken about the position of our women as a force. I recall growing up in the north, every Igbo town organization had both the men and the women wing of the town unions. And to a large extent, the women's wing of the town unions were more effective and cohesive in nature. And even as we speak today, they still exist. In Lagos, for instance, virtually every Igbo town union has the female, the women wing, and the male wing. So what we need to do is to create the nexus, a meeting point, where both can interject and then capture the essence of what needs to be done as defined by the larger platform, and then take it from there. I'd like to also say that, most importantly, the new Ohanaeze should embrace grassroots mobilization of our people to ensure inclusiveness that is youth-centric, because the youth are the future, whether we like it or not. And I'm happy that today we have some of our youths who have participated in this platform, and it shows the extent of their awareness. But we need to do more because they are more in numbers. If we get them in the numbers that we so desire, with their ideas around the world, we should be able to add value and then give us some impetus to drive the process. Equally important is the integration of the town unions, particularly the women that are central to the future prospects, and we must give them the pride of place in the discourse of Ohanaeze and NDIGBO moving forward. There's an area that is a soft point for us in NDIGBO. And I think that as a people, we must begin to purge ourselves of the pursuit of vested interests and bloated ego. This syndrome must stop so that we can embrace the spirit of collective effort of the whole that will elicit sustainable and socioeconomic development in our societies. You know, many a time we are quick to say Igbo-Eze. It's an adage, but it's a negative connotation in the sense that we do not subscribe ourselves to constituted authority and leadership. That has been a problem. So if we have to tell ourselves the truth, some of these critical issues need to be addressed. But of course, it starts with us doing a self and soul searching exercise to know how much we can do that is possible and good for the betterment of it. The host muted me. Chris.
Okay, you begin to round up, please.
No, I don't know where you people had me last, because I just saw that the control muted me. I just unmuted.
No,
so
don't go ahead. You were rounding up when I saw that.
Okay. So for whatever it is worth, my concern here is that a lot of work has been done by the present PG. If, for whatever it is worth, we need to move to the next level, there must be a proper structure before he leaves, so that when he does leave, whoever is taking over from him must have the instruments, not just the finance, but some other structural implants that are on ground on which he can build and sustain what Nyamudo has done. You see, leadership of an organization like Ohanaeze and NDIGBO has more to do with the character of the personality that leads, capacity, intuitive ability, and a whole lot of other attributes of leadership. So in our quest to move forward, we must also lay emphasis to the leadership that we will get tomorrow. Because that in itself will determine whether we are going to achieve these goals and sustain what the present leadership has done, or we're going to take 10 steps backwards, which is of course a norm in Nigeria. So I see that as an area of concern. So we must begin to do a proper search such that at the end of the day, we will have that quality representation in terms of leadership that will sustain the very laudable achievement of the present leadership. Let me touch on a little bit on the financing of the Ohanaeze NDIGBO. Unfortunately, we're at a crossroad when it comes to that. But I've heard some of the speakers talk about developing a business plan, kind of private sector-driven initiative that will help us to generate the desired financial resource to drive the activities of Ohanaeze NDIGBO. Unfortunately, with the endowment of NDIGBO by divine grace of the Almighty God and the dint of hard work across this country, is so unfortunate that to support a cause that will be for the betterment of all NDIGBO, we are lacking. We've not been able to do that. I just take a simple wedding ceremony of an Igbo family. The kind of, let me call it socioeconomic waste that you see. But when it comes to the collective effort and responsibility of the whole that will bring socioeconomic development for everybody and propagate our cause as a people, nobody wants to come to the table or to the party. We have just woken up. You know? So it is my wish and desire that we should appeal to the consciousness of everybody. If every NDIGBO, wherever you are, contribute 1 naira, as small as 1 naira is, every month, only God knows how much that will translate to in terms of economic resource to drive the process that will propagate and emancipate NDIGBO from our present predicaments. So we need to look at it from a very, very practical point of view and define the processes and protocols. I'll give you an example. Ohanaeze NDIGBO in the future must also try and see how we can compel people to look inwards, look back home. The time has come for us to develop our own homes. You come to Lagos, 80% of the properties in Ikoyi, Lekki, wherever it is, NDIGBO. All the shops in Alaba International Market, name it, Abuja, whatever. If we take these developments back home, the socioeconomic impact of that alone will be unimaginable. The time is now. So Ohanaeze NDIGBO, moving forward, should see how we can touch the consciousness of NDIGBO so that we can go back home and develop our own, rather than developing other people's territory, for which you have no right of claim anyway. They will come looking for us. I remember in the early 80s, from this Lagos, my first house, when I rented a house and lived, I had to drive from Lagos to Aba to go and buy the chairs, to go and buy the fabrics for the chairs and the curtains for my house in Lagos. That was the trend. And this was 81, 82. Every trader in Lagos goes to Aba to get materials. In fact, that was a source. But today, all of that is history. How?
All right.
So I'd like to rest.
Hello? Hello? Hello, Admiral, have you ended?
You can't hear me because you muted me now.
No, I'm not control, but have you rounded up so that I called Professor Ejiofor to give us the African perspective?
Now, okay. All right, so having said that, I want to rest my case and I wish that we will continue this discussion subsequently. Let me thank once again everybody and wish us the best moving forward. And Prof and Dr. Nyangudu, God bless you for the wonderful work you've done. We haven't seen the end of you. We'll continue to consult you and make sure that we seek your professional and intellectual experiences as how best we can move this organization forward. Thank you very much, everybody, and God bless you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Dele. I call on Professor Ejiofor. I know that the World Igbo Congress, you are doing a lot, but I don't want you to be as long as your professorial thesis. You can shorten it a little bit. Time is gone. Thank you very much.
Chris, aga m ebie nkenke. Ndị be anyị ekene m unu. Igbo abịa Igbo ekene m unu. Ndị na-achị anyị, ndị traditional rulers, ekene dịla unu. N'unu nọ ebe a this long na-eche. And na-ekenekwa my revered PG bụ Chief Nyanwodo Ike Okehe. Na ndị ọzọ niile nọ n'ebe a, including Emeka Ugwuoju, na ndị otu eput ife a together. Ndị be anyị nọ. The fact na anyị nọ ebe a na-akpa nkata alone bụ the beginning of good things to come. The fact na anyị because akpagie in various fora. But now, at this critical time, anyị ncha wee nọkọ ọnụ wee na-akpa maka ya. Ọ na-enye anyị nwa n'ebe a very strong feeling that the objectives of for Oha-Na-Eze from the time Emily established, that those objectives are about to be achieved. Ọ na-enyekwa anyị a feeling that a strong movement is in the offing. And that strong movement is a movement that is capable of taking us to where we want to go. For that reason, I thank Chief Nyanwodo for the way he has approached it. It's not just Kanemenaga, Otelier, put Tonya together when a leader in a direction and a jiva. Now, if I add in Yabo, anyone in the so-called diaspora, the least we can do is to come in with full force. In the diaspora, Ndibo Melive, Mandi youth we have Umuibo Unite, we have galvanized them, sensitized them for the movement and the things that are coming. World Igbo Congress is in a position to do that for an Igbo. Chairman ELEAZU, Elder ELEAZU, make a comment at the beginning. He was the person near the keynote speech when I was elected in Chicago. And that comment to make it, the out of sync. Where's the opportunity? Where was you when you, if an ONU? World Igbo Congress was formed in 1994. At that time, if I lead it to it being formed, Abacha's Nigeria was given the rough end to NDIGBO. Nife Basa state creation. Nife Basa boundary adjustments. World Igbo Congress step were in because at that time too, and I confirmed for transition to civil rule. World Igbo Congress battles up at help Ohanaeze to fully ascend to the apex Igbo organization status, which it enjoys today. In fact, we even moved in Enugu to help equip the office Ohanaeze with Enugu. That is the relationship I know Ohanaeze with. Now, the name Oge Ambassador Wechwe for the PG, he put World Igbo Congress into Imobi, and there were 2 slots there.
And we've worked effectively, in those two slots. Aneekwu Ike Okehe came on stream. He even improved the relationship when he added World Igbo Congress now 4 different committees of Ohanaeze. That's the nature of relationship and Ohanaeze and enjoy. And that is one of the reasons I did fully committed to making sure that the diaspora Igbo is fully involved in the development of an Igbo. Adi Amama, we have observed that the greatest factor mitigating the effectiveness of Ohanaeze is the lack of a solid foundation. Solid foundation comes in terms of funds. Una anugo kapiji ani na here, and it hurts when we hear him cry like that. I use the word cry because that's what he did. It hurts. Now nigga no na watch if I jibili bo Ohanaeze and we are not empowering it. That is not right. Another thing with the foundation, apart from the impecuniosity, the funds for running Ohanaeze, I don't see why.
Coordinating something.
Excuse me. I don't see why Onyabuna Bonibo, Ama own Ohanaeze, own its structure, own its operations, so that any budget and we can fund other budget. And you may even there. It will support and maintain itself, Ohanaeze, so that you will be able to deliver the goods and deliver. At all. We expect Ohanaeze to be like the legendary Igbo Union that will engender oneness of purpose. We cannot be from all perspectives because people can never be the same. But we can articulate things in such a way that we act with oneness of purpose. That is all we are looking for. So that we want Ohanaeze.
I muted. I can't mute him again. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Control, can you hear me? I can't hear him.
Yes.
Okay, somebody muted me suddenly. But
okay, Prof. And maybe that I'm doing good now because I will close this thing in the next 7 minutes.
Okay, that's right. Ohanaeze right now under Chief Modo, not in the twilight zone. It's like he's living, but if to ask me, less than 4 months, that period be enough for us to we can seize it as an opportunity, especially to zero in Nifebasalo security of our land. I need to for a situation where and we clear-cut security apparatus that will save our people. Out here, Anyada Anyana on the ground. But what I hear on regular basis, fear, very strong fear, a lot of fear to put genuine that Nabani they in trouble.
Thank you.
Acham can round that up by reading the last portion of what I put down. Ohanaeze was born with high hopes. It made knee-jerk efforts to fight for Igbo, but was overwhelmed by the vagaries and vicissitudes of the Nigerian political terrain. Then it lay comatose for quite a while. Now Ohanaeze is awake and in a new dawn and getting ready to excel. We must help it puff and bulldoze to a new Igbo nation. As Ohanaeze nears another transition period, we extol the cerebral approach of Chief NNAEMEKA to tackling of Igbo issues going forward.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chief Ikuna, could you, hello, Chief Ikuna and Chief Diwe, I don't know how you manage it. Could you take 2 minutes, then the chairman will close this session. It's getting too long. Chief Ikuna, please, could you greet us? Hello, Chief Joy Kuna.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you.
Right. Right. Good evening, everybody. So I want to stand on existing protocols and my greetings to everybody. And thanks to Bro Emeka for organizing this session, which has worked so hard to organize. It's been a wonderful session. It's a very important session that we should have, and I'm glad it's happening now. I'll go straight to the point. Yes, I can be fast. Well, we have discussed the issues of Ohanaeze so many times on the Igbo Intelligentsia Forum. And obviously the issue of accountability and funding has been at the forefront. We want Ohanaeze to continue to be more accountable to the people, because it is the accountability of Ohanaeze that will actually help us raise these funds. It will actually help us raise these funds. So we really need a situation where we have the right kind of models together that will help us raise funds, because we haven't, despite setting up a number of committees, we haven't really ever put a proper model in place as to how we're going to raise funds. It has always been about going back to the governors or going back to certain people, and if you have to demand money to run your organization from certain people, then at the end of the day, you cannot make those people accountable to the organization. So we really need to look at this funding issue. Because without this funding issue being sorted out, there's absolutely nothing that we're going to be able to discuss or get done eventually. So that's on the funding. And the other thing is, we are worried. We are worried. NDIGBO has done a fantastic job. He has moved Ohanaeze to the next level. It is now a recognized organization. But we worry about who will take over from him and how that person will come up. We wouldn't want a situation where the person is selected. We want someone that is acceptable by the entire Igbos, and not just because the person might be coming from a particular state that it has been designated to, and you expect that that state will now bring about their best. Sometimes their best might not be the best for the entire Igbos, especially since politics is being played. It will be very, dangerous for us if we don't get the right kind of leadership in the next elections, because everything we're talking about and working on today we won't be able to implement. I can see there's no time to carry on, so I want to thank everybody once again, and we'll carry on from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Ikuna. I call on Chief Diwe, who is the President General of the Association of Town Unions, to make it brief. Your voice has always been heard. This is not new. Please say thank you, and let's have the chairman make his closing remark. Chief Diwe, please. Chief Diwe, can you hear me?
I can hear you, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead.
There is no time for prolonged protocol. Because Chief Unyanwu ihe gbasara funding bụ nnukwute ihe, mana anyị mere makwa ya mistake that onye lawa larụghị ya na-alarụtụkwa. O nwere ihe dịka funding Ohanaeze ndị Igbo, ọ bụrụ ka ihe ndị Igbo na-eme. Funding Ohanaeze ndị Igbo eruro ihe ndị Igbo na-eme ma ndị Igbo jikọta onwe ha ọnụ. Unu cheta na before the war, mgbe a na-ekwu okwu town unions and all that, 90% of all the projects in Igbo were all funded by the union, by the town union, by the Igbo unions, without exception. Government Ohanaeze and the Igbo didn't depend on the government, either for funding or for the development projects they were carrying out. Right? I think we need to go back to that format. Igbo. Secondly, the constitution of Ohanaeze, the one we read, that the town union is the bedrock of Ohanaeze. Indeed. I don't know if we are leveraging, if we are taking the advantage of this leverage properly in the organization. Because if we are doing so, the leadership sagacity of NDIGBO, I will not combine with the with the corresponding mobilization which the entire union, supporting mobilization, which the entire union would provide. I don't think no one funding, acceptability, wouldn't have been like this. Now, and that guarantee, I'm more by constitution or statutorily. I'm not the of the governors. Mana, the government was reformed to Ohanaeze and NDIGBO was reformed to Ohanaeze and NDIGBO. The three governors, Mana Southeast today, are all from three different political parties. And in fairness to them, they are looking at leaders. Anyway, in conclusion, I know I'm not going to go one time, but in conclusion, because this meeting, any dream mayor, after some leaderships of NDIGBO, not just virtual meeting, we need to sit together. Why is meeting?
Thank you. Thank you very much, President General. Most the town units. Before I call on the chairman for his closing remark, Senator Anyanwu, I thank you for the able leadership on the panel, as well as other panelists. Our chairman, Dr. ELEAZU, your closing comments, please. Control. While waiting for Dr. ELEAZU, may I also thank all those who sent questions. We have about 20 questions. Some of them have already been answered, and we have some comments. The Secretariat will take care of these things and forward to Ohanaeze Secretariat. If the control is ready, please connect us with the chairman, Dr. ELEAZU, for his closing remarks. After that, I call on Dr. Mrs. Chinwe, Mrs. Chinwe Ato, CEO, to do the vote of thanks. Dr. ELEAZU, are you there? If it's not, may I say Abogidi, Chief Agubuzu, Eze Agubuzu, Chief Unyamuge, all our able panelists, we thank you for your contributions as we call on Mrs. Chinwe Ato to make a vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to maintain the protocols observed already. I want to thank everybody for participating in this beautiful webinar. It's an honor. It's an honor. And we especially thank the President General, Chief Wardo, for his master support. This has been very enlightening, and we pray that Igbo land and Igbo culture remains great. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Before you unmute, I'm told that within 2 weeks, the Secretariat will be communicating to all of us on the next move. If you still have your contributions, please feel free to send to them. Emeka Ugwoju, thank you, and thank you for the team. Good night.